Okay.
Facebook's live, but YouTube is still starting. It's not good news. Oh, we're live on Podium.
So welcome back to our live coverage here from the Otley cycle races. And we're getting ready now for the first of the big races of the night in terms of the national events. It's round one of the Women's National Circuit Series. And 117 riders are about to line up here, ready for the start of the action. There's the view of the finishing straight here in Otley, as the last few riders finishing from the support race that's just been happening. But we've sent our roving reporter, Beth Crumpton, out to try and catch up with some riders and get some insight before the racing gets underway. I believe she caught up with Megan Barker, who was a rider who finished in third place in here back in 2018. And also she's caught up with Amira Mellor, who was fresh from a sixth place finish in the first round of the Women's Road Series event. That was the Cycle Classic at the weekend. So I think Beth is down there chatting to those riders now. So let's go and join her.
Hi, welcome to the Velo 29 live stream of this evening's Otley Town Centre Cycling Crit. I'm Beth Crumpton and I'm going to be bringing you interviews with all the elite men riders, elite women riders ahead of this evening's racing. Stay here for all the action and I'm sure you'll be enjoying everything this evening. Hi Amira, how are you feeling tonight and how are you looking forward to Otley this evening?
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. It should be a nice fast race on a local circuit, which is nice, so should be some good racing.
Brilliant. And what is so special about racing here at Otley?
I mean, I ride through Otley probably every other day and 25 minutes from my house, so that's really good. And everyone just comes out from Yorkshire, which is really nice. It's nice local support, so it's always a good race here.
Brilliant. And it's a different kind of race from the weekend. It's a circuit race. How are those circuit race feelings? Legs a bit sharper, a bit shorter than the road race. So are you looking forward to that kind of racing?
Yeah, I mean, technically it's a bit more like cross, which should suit me, but I think also the weekend had gravel, which suited me, so yeah, we'll just have to see. I mean, I don't have massive watts, so I'm hoping no one kicks too hard. But yeah, it should be good to see how the legs are feeling.
Thank you. Good luck this evening.
Thank you.
Hi Meg, thanks for taking time for a little interview with me this evening. Great to be here at Otley, I'm sure. How does it feel to be back racing at a national level race?
Yeah, it's amazing. It's crazy like how many women there are racing. Like we've only had a year out and it just feels like the field's like doubled in like depth and quality as well. So yeah, like it's pretty tough the last couple of races, but it's really good.
Brilliant. And how special is it here to be racing here at Otley? It's got that great feel to it. What's it feel like as a rider to race here?
Yeah, it's one of my favourite races actually. Like I love it. There's always like 5 deep crowd in the finishing straight. Like it's live streamed, so my family can watch it at home, which is quite rare. Yeah, so yeah, it's really good. I feel like loads of people want to come out and watch it because it's such an exciting race.
Brilliant. And how are you feeling and team expectations for this evening?
I think, yeah, we'd really like a result here. I think it could suit us really well. Like we've got a few different options to go with, kind of with people could go long, attack and see what happens, or we've got a couple of people that could be there for the sprint if that's what happens at the end.
And who do you think are your closest rivals this evening?
The Breeze girls have definitely been riding really well so far this year. Like getting girls up the road and then also having people sprinting and normally winning the bunch sprints. So the Breeze girls, but there's like so many people there's so many different options of people you need to watch.
That's great. Thank you so much and good luck this evening.
Thank you.
So the lap on the screen showing you the riders there, and the map of the course will be giving you the information of where the riders are going to go. So they start on Bondgate, they head into the left-hander, they'll climb up the ascent of Burris Lane. It's a 700 metre long climb, that one, and a little U-turn over the top of the A660 bridge takes them onto Birdcage Walk, the longest continuous section of the course. It's 900 metres in length. It's tree covered as well. It's a variable road surface, a little bit of undulations along the length of Birdcage Walk. Then they swing left at the end of that one. Then it's a very fast ascent down East Chevin Road into Gay Lane, and then the final left-hander into the finishing straight, 190 metres from that final left-hander to the finish line. And that's very often where a race can be won and lost if you're in a bunch. First into that corner, very often, though not always, can be the eventual winner of the race. Looking down here on the start line, preparations still continuing, ready to get the race underway in a few moments' time. The riders will be gridded on the start line according to various criteria laid down by British Cycling. That gridding includes the current national circuit champion. Well, of course, we had no real racing at all last year, so the current national circuit champion is indeed the 2019 national circuit champion. So Rebecca Durrell with the rider who'll be brought forward at the front of the grid to be the first rider in line. Rebecca Durrell, twice a winner of the Women's Lincoln Grand Prix, great criterium racing form, Rebecca Durrell. She also took the win in the race in Barnsley in 2019 and was second here in Otley, so she's very familiar indeed with this course. Tour Series success well for Rebecca Durrell. She finished first in both Birkenhead and Salisbury rounds of the 2019 Tour Series. And the race I was speaking about, Tamira Meller mentioned, Rebecca Durrell was a former winner of that race back in 2016, the Women's Cycle Classic. So she is the current national champion. She wears that national champion's jersey with pride. Incidentally, the 2021 national championships for the criterium, along with road and time trial, will take place in Lincoln at the end of October. So Rebecca Durrell will get to keep that jersey for some time yet. Also on the front row of this grid, the riders from the Le Col squad here. Drops Le Col, new colours for the Drops team in 2021. Rider to the right of those two Drops riders is Emily Meakin, and she is a record holder and ace time trialist. She's also a great team pursuiter on the track, and is a rider who's got a very strong performance as well from road racing. So all range of abilities for Emily Meakin. You can see Rebecca Durrell just exchanging some pleasantries with her teammates on the start line here, and plenty of teams represented here. 117 riders taking the start, from which our eventual winner will come. This race is scheduled to last for around about 45 minutes. That should give them about 15 laps of racing, 31.5 kilometres in total, the distance of this route here around the course here in Otley. It's a 2.25 kilometre circuit. Let's a view across the finish line. This sizable field of riders here just getting themselves ready to go. As I mentioned, it's a very short women's circuit race series this year. In fact, just 2 rounds. Same for the men as well. The next round comes in a few weeks' time, in literally just 6 miles up the road in Ilkley. In fact, with the Ilkley cycle races, will host the second round of the national series for 2021, foreshortened of course due to the ongoing COVID situation. So Ilkley is taking place on a Friday on the 23rd of July. If you want to make a date in your diary for that one, if you're within reaching distance of Ilkley, maybe you want to go along and spectate as well. We'd look forward to your company for that one. In the meantime, riders just receiving final instructions before they're launched into action. We have got a motorcycle camera that will give you literally head-on shots of the riders as they go around the course. We've also got a number of static cameras around the circuit as well. So we'll talk you through the various positions as we go. One of our race officials has found himself trapped at the wrong end of the group here. So gradually trying to work his way through. And we also need to get our TV motorbike through as well. It's always better if it's at the front than at the back. So still a bit of organisation going on the line. So I think we can perhaps catch up with another rider who has been speaking to Beth Crumpton just a few minutes ago.
Well done for really good result, one that you were really chuffed with.
Yeah, I was really happy coming fourth at Sickle Classic because it's a home race and I knew the roads really well. So yeah, it was really good.
So with that form, how are you feeling ahead of this evening at Otley?
I'm really looking forward to tonight because obviously I had some form from the weekend, and I've done this course before and I've done quite well. It suits me, the course, so I'm looking forward.
Yeah, so what kind of rider does this course suit?
I say like a power rider. It's really fast. Through the finish there's a climb, and then you get to the top, and it's like a really big downhill. So it's quite a simple course really, because there's not many technical corners.
Cool. And what are you expecting ahead of this evening? How's the team feeling, and how about yourself?
I'm feeling pretty good actually, and like as a team, obviously we're come here to win. So hopefully, yeah.
Best of luck. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Sophie, how are you feeling ahead of Otley this evening?
Yeah, I'm feeling pretty good. I'm excited to be here racing. There's tons of people here and pretty star-studded field, so yeah, looking forward to it.
And you're a local rider. How does it feel to be racing so close to home?
Yeah, it's so nice. I think most people I know are here tonight, so hopefully I'll have quite a lot of shots around the course, which I think I'll be needing. So yeah, it'd be great to get out there.
And Otley's such a special race, isn't it? How's the atmosphere when you're racing?
Yeah, it's different to any other race. There's just so many people here, and everyone's kind of shouting for everyone, so it's just brilliant to see, yeah.
And how are you feeling ahead of tonight?
Feeling pretty good, yeah. I had a good race at the weekend to give me a bit of confidence, so yeah, looking forward to getting stuck in and seeing what happens.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, and good luck this evening.
No worries, thanks.
Hi Ellen, thanks for taking the time to talk to me this evening ahead of Otley. Well done at Sickle second, you must have been really pleased with that.
Shocked is probably more like it. I wasn't expecting it at all. I think it was just like really good positioning throughout the whole race. Like obviously massive big bunch, 140 riders, like just didn't know what was going to happen. So I think it was really key to be like well positioned in a race, and just such a class race for the organisers to put on as well. So it was really good, really delighted, yeah.
Brilliant. And Otley is such a different kind of race, isn't it? What do you think we're going to see tonight? Do you think we're going to see breakaways, a bunch sprint? What kind of riders got to win this race?
Well, it is a circuit race, obviously, but like I think it suits a road rider. But I was thinking back earlier on, I think it always comes down to a bunch sprint. So it's kind of positioned well out of that last corner, wherever it is right now. And like, yeah, just try and get out of that as quick as you can, I suppose. But the weather is holding up, so I think it'll just be a really fast race. But I think there'll be loads of attacks, like there always is. But it's just like, do you go with the right one, or do you just wait for the bunch? Who knows?
Fantastic. And how are you feeling ahead of Otley?
Yeah, really good actually. Training's been going really well. Like the team, the support and everything, you know, just got really good vibes for this year. So yeah, I think it'll go well. Mind you, I say that now, but it'll all go wrong.
Fantastic. Good luck this evening, and thank you.
No worries.
Cheers. That was good.
Well, you heard from Ellen McDermott, who of course was second in the Cycle Classic race at the weekend. There's the view of the start line. Just one or two last minute course preparations being taken care of before we can get the race underway. As I mentioned, 117 riders in total. And there is a familiar face, that's Dean Downing, former professional, former champion himself, of course. Dean now much involved in coaching younger riders. Always a great insight, Dean. Probably ridden more criterium races than almost any rider ever, I think. His younger brother Russ still riding, but Dean heading up Downing coaching now. So, as you heard from the riders we just had in our interview sequence from the start line a few moments ago, all looking forward, well, mainly to getting back to racing, of course, those who didn't take part in the Cycle Classic at the weekend. But there's always a very special atmosphere here in Otley. It's what makes this evening's racing so very special. And even though there are limitations, although looking down the finishing straight, you might not know it, on the number of people who can attend the event due to the ongoing restrictions. Hopefully our live stream will bring you the action literally right from on board the lead motorbike. And our static cameras also will pick up the action. And as you heard one of the riders say a few moments ago, it is one of those courses where there aren't actually any very technical corners. In fact, probably the most technical corner on the course is that final sweeping left-hander into the finishing straight. And if you're watching our coverage of the youth racing a little earlier, you saw a big stack up at the peloton for the youth boys race. No further update on any casualties. Hopefully they're all okay. But we're just waiting for the race to get underway, and just the final inspection of the course, I think, before we get the racing started. I am pleased to report that, again, if you were with us earlier, you know we didn't actually have an immediate feed of the results of the youth races. I have in front of me, hopefully, a scrolling display, which every time through the line will give us an idea of who the leading riders are and the time gaps between them and the chasers behind. So hopefully, if the technology is on our side, we'll be able to bring you a bit more information than we did during the course of the youth races a little earlier. Another familiar face down there on the start line. The black shirt just to in the middle of your picture. Without the sunglasses, that's Johnny Clay, another former professional, of course. Johnny Clay was major events director at British Cycling for a good few years following his racing career. And there's our race organiser, just having a conversation over the barriers. Sonia Harper. It was a very busy week, of course, when you're the organiser of a race of this scale. She does a great job, so too do the rest of the team. This is the 36th year of the Otley cycle races, 35 events over those years, of course. We missed out last year because 2020 we had no racing at all. Another former organiser, Giles Pidcock there. And Giles, of course, father of Tom Pidcock and Joseph Pidcock, who's riding in this race, if I am not mistaken. Let me just have a quick look down the start list, which has been pressed into my hot little hand. So he will be in the men's race later. When I say this race, I mean the race this evening. This, of course, is the women's Grand Prix first. The men start at 8:30. So still a little delay to the start here. So whilst we wait, I think we have actually got some footage from the winner of the Women's Cycle Classic at the weekend. Of course, soloed to that remarkable victory for Team Breeze, Abby Smith. And I think we caught up with Abby. If the race is not about to start, we might just go over that clip for you and let you hear from Abby. But it looks like things might just be about to happen here. So we'll just stay with it. We don't want to miss the start of the race. But if the delay will continue, then maybe we will get the photographers being ushered out of the way. So it looks like we may well be good to go for the Spats Otley Women's Grand Prix, round 1 of the British Cycling National Circuit Series, Women's Circuit Series. So the flag is held aloft there, the red and white checkered flag. Interesting flag to use to start a bike race, but it'll work. So the local dignitaries. But yeah, the countdown is happening, so we're about to go racing, folks. We're underway. National Champions jersey in the middle of the front row, Rebecca Durrell. She will start as a strong favourite tonight. She, of course, won that national title at the end of 2019 in Rochester in Kent, where the last time the British Cycling Circuit Race Championships were contested. And it looks like it's Drops LaColle who have come to the front. And Emily Meakin, who we were mentioning a few moments ago. I said Emily Meakin, a very accomplished time trialist. She won pretty much every time trial title going on the time trial calendar last year. Of course, even though we had a dearth of road racing in 2020, time trials were permitted at various points during our lockdown, so we did have quite a few opportunities to contest time trial events, and Emily Meakin had a great season. We also saw a ride in the National Hill Climb Championships towards the end of the year as well. Perhaps hill climbing not necessarily her favourite discipline. Another ride you may want to keep your eye on, I've alluded to her performance at the weekend, and that is a Team Breeze rider, and she is of course the winner of the Women's Cycle Classic, Abby Smith. She improved by 18 places. She was 19th in the Cycle Classic in 2019. She was the winner on Sunday, riding home at the end of a 40-kilometre long breakaway. So great performance. 10th overall in the National Series in 2019 was Abby Smith. She's in the red and blue colours of Team Breeze, which is the Great Britain cycling women's team pretty much. And under the tutelage of Chris Newton, as a former professional involved in team management and coaching. Of course, Chris Newton, a great criterium rider himself and a former World Point Race champion. So if we do get a little bit of freezing of our picture from time to time, we do apologise. It is down to the technology on board the motorbike, particularly when we go under the trees along Birdcage Walk. It can get a little bit difficult to get the signal up into the air, so hopefully it's not spoiling your enjoyment too much. So yeah, we've got out in that little section and we're now back on the front. Looks like small breakaway trying to be force clear here as we go around the first lap. You can see a Story Racing jersey just on the middle of the shot there. And Story Racing, well, fielding a great squad, including Dame Sarah Story, who is our most successful Paralympian ever. In fact, I think it is Dame Sarah Story towards the front. She's just back from the Paracycling World Championships in Portugal a couple of weeks ago, where she took a great time trial victory to add to her massive haul of world titles. And they are coming around out of the end of Birdcage Walk, dropping down to complete lap number 1, speeding down East Shevin Road that becomes Gay Lane. The intersection with Leeds Road, you can just see on the left-hand side of your picture there. And here is the final 190 metres that bring them onto the finishing straight. TV camera around the corner, and it is Story Racing on the front here. Should see our first passing of the line this time. So get some more names up there at the front. Lucy Gadd it is for Story Racing, ahead of Francesca Cutts across line. Corinne Side, third place. Ellen McDermott, who we heard from a few moments ago, in fourth across line. Then Joe Tindley, another former British Circuit Race Series champion. It was Joe Tindley. And she finished second to Anna Henderson on the National Championships in Stockton-upon-Tees a couple of years ago. Another occasion on which I had the pleasure of doing the TV commentary, and you can imagine finding things to talk about for Anna Henderson when she's away on her own for an entire hour of racing in the heart of Stockton-on-Tees was challenging, but we got there. And on that occasion, it was second for Joe Tindley, a distant second, it has to be said. But Lucy Gadd, Story Racing, was the first rider across the line, followed by Francesca Cutts, Corinne Side, and Ellen McDermott. So the rider from Story Racing here, certainly making her presence felt at the head of the race in these early stages. They're away on the climb once more. Gadd has dropped back a couple of places now. Someone else make the pace on the front. 117 riders in total taking the start here, a huge field. And that lap time, if you're interested, for Lucy Gadd, 3 minutes 18.931. So that's the average lap time so far for just the first lap. Pace will doubtless become a little more relentless, particularly if these riders are still together in such a tightly packed bunch when we come towards the end of the race. Be great to get the first round win in the bag, but so the bunch once again into the long run along Birdcage Walk. It's 900 metres, just short of a kilometre, Birdcage Walk. Very undulating terrain the riders tackle on that one as well. So even though this is not the most technical course, as you heard from one of the riders earlier, it is certainly one that demands the ability to climb and then descend in equally good measure. We will hopefully improve our pictures for you in just a moment. As the riders come back onto the descent here, at the end of Birdcage Walk, and through the finish line they'll be going in just a few moments' time. As I mentioned, I think we can actually bring you an interview with the winner of the Women's Cycle Classic at the weekend. From Team Breeze, that was Abby Smith, so we'll try and work that into our coverage perhaps at the end of this lap as they come through. So still pretty much all together as we go across the line this time. This time it was Katie Scott from Cams Basso who was ahead of Coincide with Luna King. Luna King was third place in the Women's Cycling Classic at the weekend, making it a 1 and 3 for Team Breeze. And you can see the damage being done towards the back. That climb taking its toll. Further down the line, riders scrabbling to get back in position before the climb begins again. Dame Sarah Story well down the line. So as they head back onto the climb again, let's hear from another one of the riders taking part in the racing here this evening.
Hi Abby, how are you feeling ahead of this evening?
Really excited. I think it's going to be a really great atmosphere, really great race, and here 2 years ago, and can't wait to get back to it. Yeah.
And how does it feel to be back at a circuit race? Has there been much opportunity to race circuits this year? I mean, there's not been a lot of racing, has there? So
No, not loads, but kind of the local ones, kind of maximum fields of 30 or so, those kind of things, but nothing national. So this is the first big one back, so really exciting, yeah.
And how does that affect your racecraft? Like, have you had much opportunity to try new things, or is this the opportunity?
Yeah, it's hard because there aren't many opportunities here. So this is the opportunity. I mean, big field, so have to watch out for loads of people flying off at different times, team tactics, all sorts. Yeah.
And what do you think is the best team tactic this weekend?
Probably get your sprinter in a good position, I would say. I think that it might come down to a sprint of some sort, but I could be wrong. But it may be one for a lead-out train on the last lap. So yeah.
Fantastic. And how are you feeling?
Yeah, excited. So nervous, but there's not too much pressure. Just out here to have fun. See what we can do.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, and best of luck.
Thanks very much. It's all right.
So nervous and excited. More incidents on the finishing straight here. I think the race may have been neutralised. Just looking at our picture-in-picture there. So whilst we resolve the situation that has arisen here, let's tell you a little bit more about Dream Bike Giveaway. Dream Bike Giveaway, responsible for bringing you our live stream coverage here this evening, along with Velo 29 cycling events. And Dream Bike Giveaway, if you're watching or if you came to our coverage via the Dream Bike Giveaway website, you know we've got a great array of prizes that you can enter the raffle with the potential to win. At the moment we have the Willier 0 SL Disc E-Tap bike on offer, recommended retail price of £6,270, but it could be yours for just 20 quid. You've got a 1 in 400 chance of winning that bike. It comes to you courtesy of Skinnergate Cycles and of course Velo 29 cycling events. Choice of colour, either red and black or grey and blue. Choice of size, either medium or large. You can only have one of the combination. You can't get both bikes if you win the raffle. It'd be nice that if we could, wouldn't it? But there you go. So that bike is available for you to try and win. Just get yourself a ticket. I know the tickets are selling very, very quickly on that one, so grab one before they all go. Go to the Dream Bike Giveaway website at dreambikegiveaway.uk, or indeed the Velo 29 Facebook page for more information on that. If a bike doesn't take your fancy, maybe a nice pair of glasses would. We've got a pair of Otley Jawbreaker glasses, recommended retail price of £185. Perfect for when the sun is shining, and it is at the moment here in Otley. So if you'd like to get some glasses, again, you've got a 1 in 100 chance of winning these for just £3. It's worth a punt that for £185 per pound pairs of glasses for just £3, isn't it? Otley Jawbreaker glasses, that's the raffle for that one, courtesy of NRG Cycles and Velo 29 cycling events. And if indoor racing is more your style, and we have a very popular series of Zwift races every Wednesday, apart from this Wednesday, of course, when we're a bit busy here in Otley, but we've got the Dream Bike Race series on the Zwift platform, and the perfect piece of equipment to race on Zwift will be a Wahoo Kicker Smart Trainer. They're worth £1,000. It's the ultimate indoor experience, and we've got 100 tickets available at £15 each for the Wahoo Kicker Smart Trainer. Again, from Skinnergate Cycles. If you'd like to find out more about that and how you could win, then head over to dreambikegiveaway.uk or check out the Velo 29 Facebook page. And there's always a notification on there when my colleague, who's sitting alongside me here doing the directing here this evening, Richard Williamson, goes live with the draws for those various things. And it's always very exciting because Richard phones the lucky winner and breaks the news to them. And there's usually a great deal of excitement at the other end of the phone that they've won a great prize. So that's all about Dream Bike Giveaway. And of course, Dream Bike Giveaway sponsoring the coverage of the live stream here from Otley this evening. Grateful also to those people who contributed via our Just Giving page as well. So if you're one of the 100 plus people who contributed via the Just Giving page, we are very grateful indeed for your support, and the target was reached in order to bring us the live stream, and any additional funds will be put towards the cost of running the Otley cycle races. So I think we're going to restart. Yes, we have. We're ready to go back to the racing. So the race was stopped due to that ambulance that had to come onto the course, which you saw a few moments ago. So they'd ridden just a couple of laps before that point. There were no real advantage gained, so they've been set off all together again. I imagine that will impact a little bit on the overall length of the race now, because we are approaching 8 o'clock, and of course we've got the men's race to come yet as well. So there may be a reduction in the number of laps here for the women's race to try and get us back on schedule. Of course, darkness will be beginning to descend on Otley round about 9:15, 9:30 this evening, as the nights start to draw in, would you believe? We're still in the early part of summer, but we've passed the longest day, so gradually the nights are getting a little darker as the riders go across the top part of the circuit. They're on the climb here past a well-known supermarket. In fact, there are 2 supermarkets on this course, one at the start line and one right at the top of the climb. So yes, handy if you need to do your shopping while you're out riding your bike. But these riders have got other things on their mind, and it's trying to get themselves back into the full motivation, having been brought to that enforced halt due to the ambulance on the course. They were, of course, in full flow when that happened, so they have had to regroup and start the race once again. Slight freeze in our picture just at the moment, but hopefully we can bring you some moving pictures of the riders as they come around the top of the climb. They cross over the top of the road, the A660, which is the main road between Leeds and elsewhere in Yorkshire. Into Birdcage Walk we go. So the majority of the riders still all together, and it's great to see so many women's teams now represented. And of course these riders will be looking forward not just to the second round of the National Circuit Series from HSBC UK British Cycling, which of course is in Ilkley on the 23rd of July, but also the Tour Series is back on the road at the beginning of August, and of course that will feature both men's and women's races as well. Tour Series heads north for 2021, just 3 rounds of the Tour Series in Gisborough is our first round. Then we head across to Sunderland. Those are 2 brand new venues for us, and then the third venue for the Tour Series will be at Castle Douglas in Scotland, which of course has hosted finishes of the Tour of Britain and the Tour Doonheim cycle race that used to take place up there as well. So those are the rounds of the Tour Series coming up at the beginning of August, and you'll be able to see many of these riders and teams represented in the Tour Series as well. So with the 2 rounds of the British Cycling National Circuit Series and the 3 rounds of the Tour Series, that'll be 5 rounds of criterium action for both men and women for the 2021 season, which, given how late we were able to start racing with full numbers, is not a bad outcome, I guess, at the end of 2021. Hopefully things will continue to improve, and we'll have a full season in 2022 starting when we expect it to start, and going right through the year. But the sun is shining here in Otley. The riders are coming down to complete the first lap after the restart, so we shall see the order cross line. Once again, it's Story Racing who comes to the front on the first couple of laps. Story Racing put one of their riders on the front of the bunch. Let's see if she is still there, and we're just waiting for our display to reflect that. Yes, it's Lucy Gadd. Well, Lucy is determined to stay at or near the front of the race. She led through at the end of the opening lap. She's led through at the end of the resumption lap as well. Jessica Finney second for Cams Basso. Then it's more riders behind that as well. Fortunately, our scrolling display scrolled at just the wrong moment to tell you who was third, but I'll tell you in a moment when it comes back. Meanwhile, the riders once again out onto the climb of Burris Road. Burris Lane, actually, to its geographically correct title. Crowd gathered outside the aforementioned supermarket. It was Aluna King who was third, there you go, and Ellen McDermott, who we heard from a little bit earlier, was fourth cross line for Team Boom Pods. So Aluna King in cracking form. She was third in the Women's Cycle Classic race at the weekend. That race won by Abby Smith, of course. And Aluna King riding into a great second place finish. third place finish. It was Ellen McDermott who rode into second place. We heard from Ellen a little earlier as well. So again, those splits we saw earlier, once again beginning to open. It's a very testing course, this. It's one of the longest of the criterium courses. Most criterium courses tend to be about 1 kilometre or 1.2 kilometres. This one is 2.25 kilometres. So the riders certainly know they've been in a bike race when they complete a lap here. The average lap time just prior to the temporary pause in racing was 3 minutes 18, if I remember correctly. The lap just recorded, of course, from a standing start by Lucy Gadd was 3 minutes 21. She was first across the line last time through.
Quite on this one, including 2 team managers, one men's Ribble and ladies Fabrice, and Sonia as well, the organiser.
So we're looking down once again on Birdcage Walk. So riders come towards us once more. The trees providing a little bit of shade as they come through. The dappled sunlight as the evening draws on here in Otley. It's just on 8 o'clock here now. 36th edition of the Otley cycle races. And you're watching the women in the Spatswer Women's Otley Grand Prix. Had a couple of laps, and unfortunately the race had to be stopped due to the necessity to move an ambulance around the course. It was nothing to do with any of the riders in the race, I'm pretty sure. So the riders just rolled round, came to a halt on the line, and were restarted. This will be the second lap after the restart when we get round this time. And much as in the first time around, it was rider from Story Racing who was driving the pace on the front, Lucy Gadd. Let's see if she's still low when they come to the line this time. No, it's a different jersey on the front this time, so who's going to be first through the finish line at the completion of that lap? Round the corner they go, streaming onto the climb. Samantha Stewart of Crimson Orientation Marketing took that one ahead of Joe Tinley. Well, Joe Tinley moving up ahead of Lucy Gadd in third spot. Sophie Thackeray for the greatly named Garden Shed UK Scott Verge Sport team was in fourth. But Joe Tinley beginning to become an ominous presence as we look further down the field at those riders who have lost a little bit of ground here. Well, Joe Tinley, as I mentioned a little earlier, rode to a great second place finish behind Anna Henderson when the National Criterium Championships took place in Stockton-upon-Tees 3 years ago. Joe Tinley, one of the most experienced riders in the women's peloton, riding for the Pro Noctis Red Chill Cycles Heidi team on this occasion. As I mentioned, she won the Circuit Race Series overall in 2019. And that second place finish in the Stockton Championships was in 2018. She also finished in fourth spot in the Cycle Chrysler race. Not the one just gone, but the one last running in 2019. She was a little further down the field. She was in seventh spot on Sunday. But Joe Tinley, always a strong rider, winner of the women's racing that preceded the women's racing in the Tour Series, the Johnson's Health Tech Grand Prix racing in Stoke-on-Trent. Remember Joe Tinley riding well a good few years ago. So she was the rider really working well at the front of the race when they went through the line last time. We're looking once again at our live pictures as they come towards the completion of the run along Birdcage Walk. There's a little horse watching the proceedings in the field away to the rider's left when we had our youth races a little bit earlier. I failed miserably to identify what type of horse it was. Those of you who are more expert in the equine department might have spotted it, but it was a small horse in a field, so that's good enough for us here as we wait the riders to complete this 900 metre traverse of Birdcage Walk. They'll then take the left-hander onto East Chevin Road, then join Gay Lane to come back onto the finishing line once more. Katie Scott, fastest lap so far in 3 minutes 19.145. For those of you who like statistics of that nature. So at the head of the race, things are pretty much locked together here. Riders just freewheeling on this section of descent. Such are the undulations of Birdcage Walk. Now they're about to take the left-hander here. A little bit of a gap. Once again, one long line of riders as they intersect with Leeds Road. Now they're into Gay Lane, which very shortly will be the left-hand turn. Looks like a rider here who's in trouble. Well, maybe the legs have gone, or maybe she had a mechanical difficulty. No laps out in criterium racing these days. So if you have a problem, you have to try and chase your way back. But she is about to be lapped by the leading riders who are coming towards the line to complete another lap. Little look over the shoulder here. It looks once again as though the rider from Story Racing, who has animated the action, is into second spot. Yes, she was Lucy Gadd. Samantha Stewart wins her second lap for Crimson Orientation Racing. Lucy Gadd second across the line, and it was Corinne Side, Luna King, Ellen McDermott, Gwen O'Hughes, Hannah Bays and Jessica Finney for the first riders across the line. So riders spread around the course, those who've lost contact with the main field. We're back with the leading group, preceded by our TV motorcycle. Again, we apologise for the freezing in the pictures. I hope it's not spoiling our enjoyment too much. There you see the back view from one of our static cameras. Huge field here, 117 riders taking the start in this Spatswa Otley Women's Grand Prix. Going to be one winner though. Still all to play for. Men's race is due to start at 8:30, but we had a little delay during the course of this race after the first couple of laps, which required the restart. Been some great names as former winners of the women's race as well. Jess Roberts won back in 2019, the last time we had the Women's Otley Grand Prix. Jess Roberts had a great season in 2019. Another great name as well, former winner here, Otley's very own Lizzie Armitstead, as she was when she won in 2014. Now, of course, Lizzie Dinan, winner of the most recent edition of the Women's Tour as well, finishing in South Wales a couple of years ago. So Lizzie Dinan winning in 2014. And 2018 was Rona Callender as the winner on that occasion. So this is the 8th edition of the Otley Women's Grand Prix. So Crimson Orientation Marketing had the first rider across the line the last couple of laps. Samantha Stewart it was who led the field last two passages of the line. She had a good outing at the weekend, finished in 10th spot in the Women's Cycle Classic. If you're not familiar with the Women's Cycle Classic, it's a bigger contrast to a criterium race you could not ask for. It's a race that takes place on very challenging, almost off-road conditions. It was very Tour of Flanders kind of territory over there in the East Midlands. And Abby Smith, who's riding here this evening for Team Breeze, wearing race number 88, came out the winner of that race after an almost half-race long breakaway move. It's the biggest winning margin we've ever seen in the Women's Cycle Classic. And obviously bringing that form and hoping to repeat the formula here this evening in Otley. Abby wears race number 88 here, well back into the finishing straight once more. Once again, Story Racing on the front. Is Lucy Gadd going to snatch another lap here through the line? I think she is. Well, for a most attacking rider award so far, I think Lucy Gadd would be in the hot seat for it. Yes, it is Gadd ahead of Luna King of Team Breeze, Ellen McDermott in third place that time, Gwen Hughes, and Zoe Backstead starts to move up. Well, Zoe Backstead, the rider who won the Women's Junior Tour of Yorkshire just a couple of weeks ago, the first round in the Women's National Road Series for the junior races. Zoe Backstead, of course, member of the Backstead family, elder sister Eleanor and dad Magnus. Zoe Backstead, a real talent. She took the best junior prize in last weekend's Cycle Classic, which won her own weight in Melton Mowbray pork pies or something like that, if I remember correctly. So still the fastest lap, 3:19 by Katie Scott. Lucy Gadd clocked 3:24.731. We've been racing in total, including the restart, for 13.5 minutes so far. So a popular springboard for an attacking move is when the riders peek out over the top of the climb. That very short section over the main road under the bridge before they swing left onto Birdcage Walk. There's a rider who has gained an advantage here. That looks as though it may well be one of the Drops Le Col riders at the front here. Just getting used to these new jersey colours. Further down, there's Jaden Weltite at the front of that group, who are now some considerable distance behind. One of the jerseys from the local Otley Cycling Club amongst them as well. Great representation from the Otley here this evening, both in terms of putting the event on the road and also riders taking part. We've got Phoebe Brown, Robin Clay and Eleanor Hunt all riding for Otley CC in the race here this evening. But this lone leader, well, she's really working well here and beginning to press home the advantage. The main field's still just about visible around the twists and turns of Birdcage Walk, but she's constantly looking behind her. I don't think she can quite believe the gap she's managed to forge here. That attack went just after the completion of the climb. She's got the descent back down towards the finishing straight ahead very shortly as we come towards the end of Birdcage Walk, swinging onto East Shevin Road to then join Gay Lane at the junction with Leeds Road, and then just about 250 metres to the line. It is, as I suspected, Drops Le Col who have picked up the pace here. Well, the Drops team used to ride in black jerseys with some coloured stripes on them to denote the wallpaper manufacturing done by Drops, but they've changed the style of the jersey now. But the rider sporting that jersey is about to cross the line in first place, and we'll see her advantage as well as she comes through. Let's see who is leading the field. As the rest of the field streak through the line. Well, it certainly Drops the call on the front, still out of the saddle. Unfortunately, our results system is again not quite cooperating with us at the moment, so I'm trying to get an eye on the time gap. Alice Towers has clocked the fastest lap in 3:04.917, and indeed it is Alice Towers on the front. So I don't think she's going to be there for too long. Joe Tindley was across the line second, Lucy Gadd third for Story Racing. So it is Alice Towers, but her time at the front is over. But it was an opportunistic move from Towers, maybe a rehearsal for something to come later. She knows a good place to attack as they came over the top of the climb, and that's a swift series of left-handers that took them onto Birdcage Walk. She's settled back into third place now. Looking further down the field, crowd cheering the riders on. But the advantage for Towers across the line was 6 seconds ahead of the group led in by Joe Tindley, with Gadd and a couple of seconds behind. So those gaps have closed now. And you can see as we come once again over the climb that Lucy Gadd has come back to the front of the race here. She really is animating the action for Story Racing here at the moment. Her team leader, Dame Sarah Story, further down the field. Story Racing also got Kinga Ingram and Erin Avil amongst the number here this evening. Team Breeze jersey takes place at the front. Team Breeze represented by Sophie Lewis and Abby Smith. Just two Breeze riders. Well, in fact, there are more Breeze riders. They're not consecutively numbered. Iluna King, of course, has been riding well. In fact, Iluna has been there or thereabouts on the finish line each time through. Rider has decided she's had enough, retiring there. So once again, it drops the coal on the wheel of Team Breeze here, as the gap has opened again in Birdcage Walk. Not as big a gap as we saw last time for Alice Towers. But again, it drops the coal, putting riders into the head of the race as once again they line up ready for the descent back down towards the finish line. And the drops the coal rider has come in front of the Team Breeze rider, obviously favouring the descent. Breeze rider was the first to attack across Birdcage Walk. They're still holding on to a tenuous advantage ahead of the lined out peloton. Into the finishing straight we come once more. And these two riders beginning to press home an advantage now. Main field desperately trying to get through. 5 laps to go, we're seeing. And it was Abby Smith, the Cycle Classic winner, ahead of April Tacey. So Smith and Tacey are our 2 leading riders. Well, I told you Abby Smith is in absolutely scintillating form following that Cycle Classic win. And April Tacey for Team Breeze has gone with her as well. So can these two try and hang on to this advantage? Looks as though the gaps are opening once again as we get onto the climb this time through. So it's real grippy stuff now. We're into the final 5 laps of this race. It's good to get your first victory, particularly in a very short series like this one. Just 2 rounds of the Women's Circuit Series. Same for the men as well. For the HSBC UK British Cycling National Circuit Series. And of course the riders will have an eye on not just the Tour Series that I mentioned earlier, but also of course the 2021 National Criterium Championships, which will take place in Lincoln at the end of October. So a late finish to the road season this year. Be interesting to see what conditions are like at the end of October. It might be very nice weather, but it'll certainly be going dark quite early, so it might be a bit of a nocturne unless the race takes place earlier in the day. Not sure what the programme is yet for the National Championships. We've got National Road, Time Trial and Circuit Race all taking place in the great city of Lincoln at the end of October. So Abby Smith, who was at the front of the race a few moments ago. There's been another regrouping here. But Smith carrying that good form from the weekend, and she certainly will be one of the favourites for this evening. But April Tacey, Mira Mella was just behind her, and Luna King also in 4th spot last time through the line. So it'll be 4 laps to go. So just about 10 kilometres or so. Each lap, 2.25k. So again, riders riding into the rapidly descending sun now. And certainly the conditions will begin to darken during the course of the men's race, which is due to get underway at 8:30. That's about 10 minutes time. We've got 4 laps to go in the women's race. And unlike the women who had the first round of the National Road Series at the weekend, the men's Otley Grand Prix will be the first national men's race at this level since the return of racing. So there'll be 1 or 2 possibly slightly rusty riders in the men's peloton who've not ridden in a group of the size they're going to ride in later on this evening for quite some time. So here we come into the finishing straight once more. And speeding towards the line, Cams Basso, I should say, on the front here. But no particular advantage across the line. They're all together, those riders who are in this leading group. Well, our results screen on screen for you, but we want to see the top of it rather than the bottom of it. We just need to wait till it gets around. It's one of those scrolling displays that we have no control over, unfortunately, so we have to wait till we get back to the top of it to confirm the other placings. So it's Katie Scott from Cams Basso, from Samantha Fawcett of Pro Noxus, 2 Pro Noxus riders there, Joe Tindley as well, Luna King in 4th place, and Maddie Leach in 5th spot for PHMAS. So those are the first riders across the line that time through. And Cams Basso beginning to push more and more riders towards the front now. And another searing attack here from Team Breeze. Well, is this Abby Smith? I wouldn't be at all surprised. It looks like it is. You cannot keep Abby Smith down at the moment. Second time she's attacked here on this climb. Remember, she went on the attack in the Women's Cycle Classic just 40 kilometres into the 105 kilometre race at the weekend. Held off the rest of the field. And she's trying to repeat the formula here. But riders behind will be trying not to allow too big a gap here to Smith, because they know the kind of form she is in. And then she could very easily sneak the win with still a couple of laps to go if she can keep that advantage. But group beginning to come back to her here along Birdcage Walk. A long straight this. It undulates a little, but good sight lines, so it's great for trying to catch a rider back who's snuck away on the climb, because you can see your quarry ahead of you for quite some way. And it looks as though our escapee is once again going to be reeled in here. So that's the second time that Smith has chanced her on by going clear. And as the laps tick down, it'll just be a couple to go next time through. Smith drops back into second wheel. Another rider comes through to take up the lead. Give a little bit of respite. Smith looking over her shoulder to see what's going on behind. Lots of looking around as well. Some of the Cams Basso riders looking to see where the teammates are. If this does come down to a sprint, it's a matter of making sure that your favoured sprinter is well placed on that final left-hand bend. It's folklore, I guess you might call it here in Otley, that very often the winner of the race is the first rider into that last bend onto the finishing straight here on Bondgate. Just a relatively short 190 metres to the line from that final left-hander. They're on the descent once more, back onto Gay Lane. It's about 250 metres from the finish line. Here's a view into the finishing straight, and here we go. Little split of about 3 riders here, but not a major gap. Once again, it is Breeze on the front. Well, Breeze doing lots and lots of work here this evening. So I think one of the Breeze riders definitely is in with a very good chance of taking the victory here. Bit of a gap then to the back part of the field. Things have spread out a little bit. And such is the pace at the front. Very difficult to close those gaps, particularly in the closing stages. So just waiting for our results screen to give us an idea of time gaps for those riders across the line. It was Abby Smith who came back to the front. And those 3 riders just at the front of the group there. Corinne Side moving up along with Lucy Lee as well. Jenny Hull. First time we've seen Hull come towards the front of the group. So those riders who are looking to try and take out this victory need to make sure they don't get trapped at the back when it comes to the final lap. Jo Tinley was 8th through the line that time. So Tinley will be one of the favourites. She's a wily criterium rider. But she's got a very strong challenge to overcome. Good to see Ellen McDermott well placed as well for Team Boom Pods. McDermott, of course, second to Abby Smith at the weekend in the Cycle Classic. And we heard from Ellen a little bit earlier in our interview with Beth Crumpton. So we do unfortunately lose our pictures a little bit along Birdcage Walk, but hopefully you're enjoying our live stream here, brought to you by Dream Bike Giveaway. And once again, a thank you to everyone who contributed via the Just Giving page to make this live stream possible. The limits on the numbers of people who can gather in the centre of Otley. I know there are probably a lot of people watching who would normally make the journey across to North Yorkshire for the races, but I hope you're getting some sense of the atmosphere here. So we're just waiting to see, as they come back around the corner, whether the challenge here, it looks as though once again it is Cams Basso who are trying to drive the pace. unfortunately I have no better view than you. What you're seeing on your screen is what I'm seeing as well. So we'll switch to the finishing straight in the hope that we can see more of the action as the riders come back out of Birdcage Walk. Very busy in the main street here in Otley. Of course, not the size of crowds we'd normally expect, but still a good number of people have come here to watch the racing tonight. And here comes, and this is a back group here. We're going to be looking for our leading riders to come around the corner now, and the gap's beginning to open here. Well, there's the bell with 1 lap to go. Amy Gornall for Pro Noctis is the rider on the front. Abby Smith up to second. But Amy Gornall has gone clear at the front of the race here. Gornall leading through the line that time. Well, she was third in the British Junior Road Race Championships a few years ago, was Amy Gornall. Finishing 4th spot in the Ilkley races back in 2019. And she's the rider on your screen here for the Pro Noctis team. More back markers about to be overhauled. All the riders getting the bell. Gornall is on the climb. As we look back at the finishing straight, Story Racing trying to bridge the gap. Well, odds on that it's going to be the omnipresent Lucy Gadd from Story Racing. And she's caught and passed Gornall on the climb. There's the back of the peloton. That 700 metre ascent up towards the top of the far part of the circuit. Story Racing, again, as we swing into the top of the circuit, then the left into Birdcage Walk. So half a lap to go in the Spatswer Otley Women's Grand Prix, and it's Story Racing on the front. Look at the gap. Gornall's attack was swiftly neutralised on the climb. Alice Tower still has the fastest lap in 3:04.917. But the rider from Story Racing here has only got a small advantage, and it looks as though she's going to get caught. So will we see another attack, or are we getting teed up for a big bunch sprint for the line here on Bondgate this time? Jenny Hull, Jo Tinley, Corinne Side, Samantha Fawcett were also to the fore when they came through with a lap to go. So look out for those jerseys from Cams Basso. There's one on the front now with the red sleeves and the green centre panel of the jersey. Drops the Cull, also beginning to get up towards the front. I can see a couple of Breeze jerseys on either side of the group. Abby Smith and Luna King, I imagine. But it's looking more and more like these riders will be coming together into the finishing straight this time. Final undulations of the Birdcage Walk before the left-hander swinging onto East Shevin Road. Then very quickly onto Gay Lane. And then we'll be getting lined up, ready for the finish. It's Team Breeze coming to the front. Is this Abby Smith? I think it probably is. That form from the weekend. Is it going to be repeated here in Otley this evening? Around the final corner we come. It's Breeze on the front, powering down the finishing straight on the right-hand side of the road. It looks like Team Breeze out of the saddle. Team Breeze are going to try and take this one. Yes, we do. Once again, it is Team Breeze. Is that Abby Smith? We're waiting for confirmation on our results screen. If it is, she's won 2 from 2 in as many days. Oh, it was a teammate. It was a Luna King. Well, the third place rider from the Cycle Classic has made that victory for her. April Tacey second for Drops the Coal. Jenny Hull third for Techers. And Ella Barnwell, it was, in 4th place. A Luna King makes it a another victory for Team Breeze, but this time it's her turn to get the victory. So great work done by teammate Abby Smith, but Aluna King is your winner of the Spatswer Otley Women's Grand Prix. Whew, what a great race that was. I'm going to try and capture the results screen when it scrolls around again, so we can give you a little bit more of an indication of the places and times of the riders. So Aluna King, the winner from April Tacey from Drops the Coal. 3rd place for Jenny Hull from Techers CC. 4th place for Ella Barnwell of Team Breeze. So first and fourth for Barnwell this time. Smith finishing back down in 10th place. 5th place went to Corinne Side of Pro Noctis Red Chili Bikes. It was 6th place for Alice Towers of Drops the Colt, supported by Temper. 7th spot for Amira Mella for Spectra Wiggle. 8th place went to Francesca Morgan's Slader of the University of Manchester Cycling Club. 9th place for Hannah Bays of A-Wall O'Shea. And in 10th spot it was Abby Smith of Team Breeze. So those are the top 10 riders in the Spatswer Otley Women's Grand Prix. But that attacking move from Maluna King coming towards the end of the run along Birdcage Walk. She held off the charge from the rider from Drops the Coal, April Tacey, as they descended back down towards the finish in Bondgate. And on the line, the advantage for the rider from Team Breeze. Less than a second, but they all count. Great sprint from Maluna King. And there is another look at more riders finishing. All getting the checkered flag now, of course. So unfortunately we don't have any means of putting a graphic on the screen for that result, so if you have just missed it, I will repeat the top 5 again for you. The win confirmed for Aluna King of Team Breeze. 2nd place for April Tacey of Drops Le Col. 3rd place for Jenny Hall of Techers CC. 4th place for Ella Barnwell of Team Breeze. And in 5th place it was Corinne Side for Pro Noctis Red Chili Bikes. That was the result of the Spatswer Otley Women's Grand Prix. Well, I mentioned Dean Downing's younger brother Russell. There he is, right in your picture, just crossing the road, the man with the beard. So both Downings here this evening. More riders finishing. Incidentally, the pits area, which is where our camera is located here, is where the riders can receive assistance should they need it, but no laps out, of course, in criterium racing. Riders exiting from the circuit. Our presentation ceremony for the Spatswer Otley Women's Grand Prix will take place after the Men's Grand Prix has been completed. Just approaching 25 to 9 on this Wednesday evening. If you are just joining us, this is our live stream coverage of the 36th edition of the Otley Cycle Races, live from Otley in Yorkshire. You see Team Breeze manager Chris Newton just down there, just congratulating his riders on another great victory. Abby Smith in the Cycle Classic at the weekend. The rider who finished 3rd on that occasion has now made it the win here in Otley this evening. Aluna King taking the win for Team Breeze, so they're having a great start to their criterium racing campaign. Riders just filtering out from the circuit now, exchanging tales of the race between them. How did it go for you? Oh, well, I couldn't quite get on the wheel, and there's always a story. But it was a great race and a really exciting finish, and a super sprint from Aluna King. So it won't be too long before we get the men lined up. The sun is already descended behind the buildings here in Otley, and a little bit of a chill in the air, I have to say, here in the exposed doorway of our commentary box. But certainly plenty of heat out on the road when the racing resumes with the men in a few moments' time. View here down Bondgate. And much as you could argue that the Lincoln Grand Prix is one of the most iconic road races on the British racing calendar, I think it'd be fair to say that after 36 years and 35 editions, the Otley Grand Prix is probably one of our most iconic criterium races. And Aluna King adds her name to the illustrious list of former winners. So the crowd patiently waiting for the field to appear for the men's race. I've just been handed the start list, and I can see we have 126 riders who are scheduled to take the start for the men's Otley Grand Prix. The race sponsored, as it has been on numerous previous occasions, actually one of the long-term sponsors of racing here in Otley, the Property Development Group, and it is the Property Development Otley Grand Prix. Race scheduled to last about an hour, 60 minutes of racing, during which they will cover around about 24 laps, 50 kilometres. Just saw the site of British cycling president Bob Howden, just on the extreme right of your picture in the white shirt. And Bob, along with being the organiser of the Rydale Grand Prix, as well as being president of British Cycling. And that, of course, will feature a round of both the men's and the women's National Road Series on the 22nd of August over at Ampleforth Abbey here in Yorkshire. I think we've got an awful lot of racing taking place here in Yorkshire this year, which is great. Of course, it was the home of the World Road Championships at the end of 2019. Otley's also featured on the route of the Tour de Yorkshire on several occasions. So the riders will be being sorted into their appropriate gridding order. Again, it's the national champion who'll be invited to come to the line first. And again, the national champion for the men has held that title since the end of 2019 when he took the title in Rochester in Kent. That's Joey Walker. So there'll be an opportunity for Joey to show off that national champion's jersey for one of the, well, actually it was the first time since he won it. And here he is. That is Joey Walker, the National Circuit Criterium Race Champion of Great Britain. Taking that great win in Rochester 2 years ago it is now. There's another rider who has figured in our racing for more years than probably he and I care to remember, Andy Tennant. Just having a quick drink. Andy famously spent a long time trying to get his first win in Tour Series racing, and eventually managed to do so in one of the toughest rounds of the men's Tour Series in Durham back in 2018. Of course, Andy Tennant, a team pursuiter on the track as well. He will ride race number 7 this evening for the team of Canyon DHB Sun God. And we also bring to the line the winner of the last edition of the race in 2019. And it's a rider who, it's fair to say, pretty much dominated proceedings in the whole of the 2019 British Cycling Circuit Race Series from the Isle of Man, Matthew Bostock. Just see removing his windproof jacket on the line there, Matthew Bostock. Overall winner of the series. He won all but 2 rounds, if memory serves me correctly, of the Criterium Series back in 2019. He was 3rd in the Circuit Race Championships that same year. So the rider's almost ready to go. We can hear, I think, from a couple of the protagonists who've been speaking to Beth Crumpton while the women's racing has been on. We'll get this race underway first of all. But Matt Bostock will start as one of the favourites, buoyed no doubt by the victory of fellow Manxman Mark Cavendish yesterday in the Tour de France, taking his 31st stage victory. I won't spoil the enjoyment of the Tour de France today by giving you the result. I won't spoil my enjoyment either because I've not seen it either. We've been busy here all afternoon setting up for the live stream, so if we've not had enough cycling today, I'll be watching the highlights when I get home. So Bostock just taking a quick gulp to get ready to race around the circuit here. Canyon DHB were the overall winners of the Tour Series in 2019, and they also took the team award in the British Cycling Circuit Series as well. There's a view of the start list for you. Blink and you'll miss it, but I'll try and pick out some of the most significant names on it as we work our way through the coverage over the next hour or so of racing. As I mentioned a few moments ago, we have a total of 126 riders taking the start here. So a huge field by any stretch of the imagination. See one or two more familiar faces amongst them. Be plenty of interest for Jim Brown on the Canyon DHB squad. Jim, another Yorkshireman here, enjoying riding on his home roads. And a little bit further down we have got a member of the Tanfield clan. I think we've got Harry and Toby this evening, so we're missing only the middle brother, Charlie. Toby the younger, and Harry the senior member of the Tanfield cycle racing dynasty. Riders just patiently waiting to get underway. Definitely has become a little cooler here in the centre of Otley since the sun has deserted us. And as I mentioned, as this race progresses, you will start to see the skies darken as night will begin to wear on here. Very hirsute rider in the middle of the bunch there. Probably didn't shave since before lockdown. Beeston Road Club at the front there as well. So just a few moments before the start of the race can be given. We've actually got some more interviews just to catch up with. I hesitate to start playing one in for you only to miss the start of the race. Oh, there is Harry Tanfield, just behind that little group of riders in the front of your screen there. Oh, we have got Charlie Tanfield. I'm doing a disservice. We've got all the Tanfields. Charlie is there for Canyon DHB Sun God. So still the riders just patiently waiting here. Itching to get started, I'm sure. So surely should be getting the countdown in a couple of seconds' time. Yes, we are. So we're into the final few seconds before the race gets underway, and we're off and running. So the Property Development Otley Grand Prix, the men's race, round one of the National Circuit Series, is finally underway. Final race of the evening, but it is the longest race of the evening as well. Plenty of time for this one to develop over the next hour or so. Well, looking down the list of former winners, Matt Bostock, of course, in 2019. Chris Lawless, twice a winner here in 2017 and 2016 in consecutive years. And I mentioned the Downings earlier. We saw Russell and Dean. Well, history will show that Russell Downing is a twice winner of the Otley Grand Prix in 2006 and also in 2002. And Chris Newton, who you saw as the team manager of Team Breeze, was a winner here back in 2001. So plenty of riders here who have got experience either as a winner or a participant, now in a managerial role or a coaching role, able to pass on their experience to the riders on the road here this evening. So as they head up the climb here, now we can bring you a couple of interviews that Beth managed to catch up with some riders just before the race got underway. And doubtless she'll tell you who they are. Might have a slight problem with our playing of that at the moment, so just bear with us. There we go. Joey Walker.
Ahead of the very first National Circuit Series. How does it feel to be back here at a national level race?
Yeah, it's mega. I mean, there's a good crowd, and we've had well over a year now without any big racing. So I've had nerves since waking up this morning, but good nerves.
And a new team for yourself, a new group of people,
Yeah.
and racing in the British Champion Stripes. That must be really special.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's mega to be with a new setup and new faces and that. So we're all here to get stuck in, and obviously with the strike it comes pressure, but I think we can pull it off. So we'll see.
Brilliant. And the team and the tactics. What do you think is going to win this race?
Well, I think we're ready for an aggressive start, and then I think it'll settle down. There'll be probably a few big attacks, but we're predicting a bunch sprint for myself and obviously the other sprinters. So.
Brilliant. Best of luck for this evening.
Thank you.
Well, you heard it from the national champion himself, Joey Walker. He's predicting a bunch sprint at the end of the racing this evening. Interesting to see. We're coming towards the completion of the opening lap. It's certainly a bunch at the moment, but very early days yet. Through the line they go. This massive field here. Just waiting for confirmation of first riders across the line. Again, we're just waiting for our results screen to scroll to the appropriate page. Sadly, something we have no direct control over, so it's a bit of a waiting game. But the riders once again are onto the climb. And with such a huge field of riders, it takes quite a while to get back to the top of the list. But let's see who was first across the line. It was Kieran Savage of the VC Corbus team, followed by Angus Hawkins and Joe Wilson, Oliver Peckover and William Harding. So plenty of teams getting themselves a rider towards the front. Further down the field, Andy Tennant in midfield at the moment. All the favourites in amongst the bunch there. We're seeing an attacking move here as the riders once again go onto the climb. They've already reached the top of Burris Lane, 700 metres on that climb, and swinging onto Birdcage Walk. And gaps not too big yet. Into the trees we go. The sun, which is setting here now in Otley. You can see the street lights, in fact, now beginning to come into evidence between the trees. Just the last bit of light in the sky over behind the trees there as the sun dips behind. This is the highest part of the course here on Birdcage Walk. Having climbed up Burris Lane, they will swing round, of course, and then drop down to the bottom of the descent, which brings them back onto Bondgate and the finish line to complete what will be the third racing lap. So with so many teams and so many riders on the road, it's all about fighting for position and making sure you're as near as the front as you can possibly get. Bike handling skills, although this is not the most technical of criterium circuits, not too many twisty turns on it, but sweeping bends more than anything else. But it's all about making sure that you get the right line into those corners, particularly, of course, the last corner into Bondgate, that critical 190 metres that bring the riders off that final left-hander and onto the finish line. They're out of Birdcage Walk. Quick glance over the shoulder here as we head onto the descent. And looking down the finishing straight, won't be long before the riders are here. Small advantage being eked out by the leading rider here as they come towards the completion of this lap. Lots of chasing going on behind. It's not a very significant advantage, and through the line he goes. Again, we'll just wait to confirm who that was for you. Fastest lap, by the way, has been posted by Joseph Pidcock, younger brother of Tom, 2:46.609. It was Freddie Sheshki across the line there for Ribble Well-Type Pro Cycling. Well, what a rider Freddie Sheshki is. He was the winner of the final round of the Tour Series in Salisbury in 2019 when he was riding for the now sadly demised team of Vitus Pro Cycling. But Freddie Sheshki, German rider, but been signed up by the Ribble Well-Type team. He was a winner of the Winchester Criteriums back in 2018. He's a rider who likes crit racing. He was also second in the Tour Series round in Aberdeen the same year he won the final round in Salisbury. So the German making his presence felt at the front of the bunch for the first time, and the first time in his Ribble well-tight pro cycling jersey on your TV screens. Back of the race though, a little bit more spread out as riders begin to lose contact. The pace is very brisk indeed. Just worth reinforcing that fastest lap time posted by Joseph Pidcock, 2:46.609. Well, our picture's just freezing as we go through Birdcage Walk. It's an opportune moment perhaps just to play in our other interview here. Another rider that Beth caught up with before the start of the racing earlier this evening.
And the tactics. Hi Ben.
Now, we've seen him before, so let's stick with the racing for now. It won't be long before we come to the end of this particular passage along Birdcage Walk. So we're on the descent. Soon be swinging left again into the finishing straight. Let's see who's on the front this time. No particular advantage gained. As you can see, the riders hugging the right-hand side of the road. Jacob Scott from Canyon DHB Sungod was the first across the line that time. Jacob was a rider who finished fourth in the men's cycle classic in 2019, that tough off-road event. He's also finished in the top 10 in the Junior Tour of Flanders, has Jacob Scott. So Canyon certainly putting riders to the fore here. Of course, they'll be riding in the interest, I think, of Matthew Bostock. Well, he'll want to start the 2021 circuit race campaign in the same way he finished the 19 version by winning. So as they go onto the climb, I think we now really can bring you the other interview from the start line.
Hi Ben. We're at Otley. We're at the park before you head out. How are you feeling ready for this evening?
Yeah, it's actually quite a lot of people. I didn't realise how many, but yeah, I feel good. You know, it's nice. I haven't raced in England for a long time now. It's like 2.5 years or something. So we'll see. I'm excited, to be honest. I feel alright. I had a good year. I had a week, 8 days off, and then yeah, so we'll see. I don't know.
And you got to wear the pink jersey at the Baby Giro. How did that feel?
Yeah, it was super nice. You know, that was probably the highlight of my road career so far. So you know, it was really special, and yeah, to have that, you know, it's really nice having your Palmares. So.
And a bit of different racing tonight, circuit racing. It's not a long stage race. What are you expecting from this evening?
I think it's going to go off like a rocket, and then we'll see from there. I think it'll be good. It'll be a good night. It's always special here, and yeah, let's see what happens.
Best of luck.
Yeah, cheers.
Thank you guys.
So while we're with that interview, you can see we've got a little bit of action at the front here. The gap beginning to open. Well, it's quite a considerable one as well. Swinging into the passage onto the next section of the course. Descending back down towards the line. So an opportunistic moment to mount this attack. And the most significant advantage we've seen, there's the main field streaking down the descent, but it's almost the length of the run from Birdcage Walk to the left turn onto the finishing straight. The advantage held by our leading rider. Here he comes towards the finish line now. Well, this is a really serious move indeed. Through the line he goes, and onto the climb. And here comes the main field, lined out round the corner. In pursuit now of our lone leader. I'll try and give you an accurate indication of his time gap as he goes onto the climb. Just waiting to see what the marker was for the main field on the line. But if you can keep this momentum going on the climb, it's Joe Cookham of the Prologue Racing Team. Not a rider I'm very familiar with, which is why I didn't recognise him on screen. But Cookham has taken his opportunity here. And the main field, though, starting to reel him back in. They don't want to allow anyone too much ground at this stage of the race. Joe Cookham, the Prologue Racing Team in the black and yellow. I think his time at the front is going to be relatively short-lived, but certainly a searing amount of pace that he put in on that run down towards Bongate that time. And as soon as he is caught, another attack beginning to be launched on the right-hand side of the road, the left-hand side of the screen as you look at your picture, over the top of the climb. It's a great springboard for attacking just as you come to the top of that climb, because you know you've got that quick left and then another left before you go into Birdcage Walk, and this undulating passage through the trees. But it plays into the hands of the chasers, because they can keep you very much in their sights as they try and ride you back down again. It's caused one or two more little splits further down, and looks like we've got 3 riders with a small advantage here as they come over the next little undulations. Keep looking behind. That's always an indication the gap isn't all that significant, but working hard to try and grow it as much as they can. Well, the favoured teams here this evening, Swift Carbon Pro Cycling and Canyon DHB, will certainly be looking to try and take out a win if they can. Of course, the defending, or he will be defending champion come October, and Lincoln, Joey Walker, not seen that national champions jersey towards the front just yet. So that's Canyon DHB being pursued here as we come once again onto the descent. Well, maybe in the midst of descending, but still have the presence of mind to operate his cycle computer as he goes down towards the left-hander. These two are onto the finishing straight. A lone chaser trying to work across the gap as well. So this descent has played into the hands of these two leading riders, because they're, once again, as we saw on the previous lap, Robert Scott, Josh Tarling are the two riders who have gone clear here. Now, Joshua Tarling, let me tell you, is one of the junior riders here, and he came out the winner of the Junior Cycle Classic at the weekend. And he attacked, much as Abby Smith did in the women's race, he attacked very early on in the race at the weekend, rode away from the rest of the field, and managed to sneak the victory, winning the final sprint. There were 3 riders who went to the sprint, and it was Joshua Tarling who came out the victor. So Tarling once again bringing that great form here to the roads of Otley this evening, and he's working his way through to the front. Remember, he's a junior rider. Robert Scott is there as well for the team of Canyon DHB Sungott. Second time we've seen Robert on the front. But very distinctive facial expression that Robert Scott has. It certainly tell he's working hard here. Joshua Giddings, another rider from the Cycle Classic, another junior who rode well at the weekend. So the juniors are having a great night here at the moment, with at the head of the race, these two, as they once again come into Birdcage Walk. Mainfield beginning to set off the panic flares here if these two continue to ride at this pace. Canyon DHB with Robert Scott. It's having a junior rider amongst the two leaders is certainly proving to be interesting here. Joshua Tarling, Flanders Colour Galoo team. He's had a good season, Joshua Tarling. He actually picked up 4th overall in the Junior Tour of Yorkshire, having taken 2nd place on the opening time trial stage. And rider who, of course, last time we saw him prior to 2021 was riding in the Youth A category, and on that occasion he rode to 4th place overall in the Isle of Man Youth Tour in 2019. So 3 leading riders now. The 2 escapees have been joined by a 3rd. Managed to bridge that gap. No sign of the rest of the field. You can perhaps judge the gap if we see them just coming towards that little bend as the riders swing around, but this lead is looking ever more promising for these three riders. Tarling, Scott and the other rider that's joined them here. Bondgate beckons once more, and they're onto the finishing straight. Well, if they make the left-hander before the rest of the bunch have come round the corner, that is a significant lead these three riders have eked out now. Still no sign of the main field. Well, those three are taking this race by the scruff of the neck now. They're well into the climb. We're waiting for the main field. Here they come now round the corner. And they'll be very conscious indeed. Well, Canyon on the front now. They've got a man in the break. They're not going to work to try and bring him back. So it's down to the other teams to drive the pace here. You can see the rider from Canyon, DHB Sungod, just looking around. Come on, guys, he's saying. It's your race to chase. We've got a man up there. See who the third member is. So it's Robert Scott, Josh Tarling. Matthew Gibson is there for Ribbled Well Tight. So Gibson, another rider who is a good criterium rider. In fact, he first came to prominence as one of the youngest ever winners of a round of the Tour Series back in Peterborough in 2013, if my memory serves me correctly, for Matt Gibson. So it's Matt Gibson, it is Robert Scott, and it is Joshua Tarling, a junior rider. Those are your three leaders. As once again, they're swinging left into Birdcage Walk. We now have a rear view of those three, such as the gap between them and the chase group behind. Matt Gibson, well, he posted the fastest lap so far in bridging that gap across those leaders in 2:43.536. Fastest lap for Gibson. Damien Clayton for Canyon, DHB Sungod was the rider looking round on the front of that bunch because he won't be chasing for Canyon because Robert Scott is the man who is up the road. They've completed 6 laps of racing so far. Been racing for 18 minutes. In this property development men's Otley Grand Prix, round 1 of the HSBC UK British Cycling National Circuit Series. You've got 3 leading riders at the head of the race. The rider in blue, the dark blue, is Robert Scott from the team of Canyon DHB. The rider in the light blue is Matt Gibson. And the rider in the pink and black and a variety of other colours is the junior rider Josh Tarling, who is riding for the team of Flanders Colour Galoo. He's got race number 116 on his back. And Matt Gibson's team, of course, Ribble Well Tight. So these three, at the moment, are dominating proceedings on the streets of Otley. Once again, they have completed the run along Birdcage Walk and are on the downhill. Be interesting to see what the gap is this time. Scott has been involved in a breakaway earlier in the race, but Gibson and Tarling, his breakaway companions this time. It was the length of the finishing straight plus last time through. Takes a few moments for our timing to confirm the gap. I will keep a careful eye on that for you as we look for the arrival of the chase group behind, who at the moment are in a race for 4th place. Well, it's too early still in the race to predict, but those riders at the front, the advantage is approaching more than a minute. That is certainly a great advantage for those three, for Tarling, Scott and Gibson. So Matt Gibson is on the front here. He was the overall winner of the series back in 2018 when he was riding for the JLT Condor squad, if memory serves me correctly. And it's former British circuit race champion from 2018 as well. Taking that title in Stockton-upon-Tees. On the same occasion, he was the winner of the Stockton Grand Prix, so he likes riding in the northeast of the country. But he's in Yorkshire today, and he is one of 3 members of this leading group who are really taking the action to everybody else here. The crowd cheering the riders around the circuit. We hope you're enjoying our live stream coverage wherever in the world you're watching bike racing here in the heart of Yorkshire. Well, these three showing the pacemaking at the moment, making sure they try and maintain that advantage. Certainly Scott and Gibson know each other well. They've raced together many times. Joshua Tarling, of course, junior rider in esteemed company here. But as I mentioned, Joshua Tarling is having a really, really good season in his first year as a junior. That 4th overall in the Tour of Yorkshire and Junior Tour of Yorkshire that was, and also the win in the time trial in the first stage.
James, your battery's flat. James, quick.
So through Birdcage Walk we go again. Scott just drops onto the back of Tarling's wheel. Gibson leads them into the left-hander. You see Tarling just getting as aerodynamic as he dare in this downhill here, just leaning forward over the bars, trying to make himself as less of a target in the wind. And you can see the little sneak through to the left-hander here. You've got a great view of the line the riders take there, with our motorbike behind them on this occasion. Through the line we go. Gibson still on the front with Tarling second wheel, then Scott. Groups of ones and twos coming into view here. So the chasers making a little bit of headway. And there is the main field. Remember, 126 riders took the start here this evening. So it was a massive field. Ben Turner for Trinity Road Racing was the first rider in the second group, I should say, and Jacob Scott was there as well for Canyon DHB. But still our three leaders. The gap has shortened a little though, so they can't afford to rest on the laurels here. They need to keep working hard and trying to maintain the advantage. They've reached the top of the climb. It's a very quick passage over the A660. And they'll drop back down again onto Birdcage Walk. You can see it getting darker now. The lights of the motorbike behind our three leading riders, illuminating the number 10 on the back of Matt Gibson, just taking on board some hydration. Gibson, I'm sure, would love to start his 2021 campaign with a win. As pretty much every rider would, I imagine, on the road here. It's been a long layoff for the riders. This is the first race for the men at this level since 2019. No doubt there's been a great deal of training and Zwift riding just to keep the form. One or two teams have managed to head to foreign races in the earlier part of the 2021 season before the lockdown restrictions were lifted here in the UK to allow the return of national bike racing on our home shores. Matt Gibson currently has the fastest lap in 2:43.536, and he is one of the three riders in this leading group. We have completed 8 laps of racing. We've been going for just over 23 minutes when they went through the line last time. We expect the race completion around about 9:30. Well, Robert Scott just taking a look behind, sensing the fact that, well, first of all, they've got 4 lap riders they're about to catch here. But trying to get some kind of view of where the chase group behind are. They had to negotiate some lap riders last time as well. But we are looking now at the main field, and once again the advantage for our three leaders is more than the length of the finishing straight. It's perhaps a little less than it was a lap or so ago, but it's still significant. The leaders have completed 9 laps of racing. Gibson ahead of Tarling, ahead of Scott across the line. Joey Walker, the national champion, for the first time shows in 4th place that time through. Well, Walker said when we heard his interview earlier with Beth Crumpton that he was really looking forward to getting back into it after the long layoff. And of course, it always gives you a little bit of extra incentive when you are in the national champions jersey. It's worth the odd couple of revs per minute or watts per kilogram output when you've got the national colours on your back as the man who was the winner of the last running of the National Criterium Championships. So our 3 leading riders on the climb once more, dispatching it in reasonably short order, and onto Birdcage Walk. So of these 3, if it did come down to these 3 remaining clear for the duration of the race, if you were putting your money on one of the 3, I might possibly favour Matt Gibson. A strong sprint, very, very strong Criterium rider, Gibson, but Robert Scott also. He was second in the Sheffield Grand Prix back in 2019, was Robert Scott. And also finished in 2nd place in the Tour Series in Stevenage in 2018. I remember that. It was a cracking race and a very warm evening indeed in Stevenage back in 2018. Robert Scott, by the way, is a former Great Britain Under-23 road race champion, taking that title in 2018. Up in Newcastle. So all of these riders with the potential for victory, but let's not forget that the man in the middle of that group of 3, Joshua Tarling, is still a junior rider. He's a first-year junior rider here, and winner of the Cycle Classic at the weekend, and 4th overall in the Tour de Yorkshire. I actually interviewed Josh on the podium at the end of the Cycle Classic at the weekend, and well, obviously he was pleased with his victory, but I asked him whether the breakaway had been planned, and he said no, he just saw the opportunity. He thought he would test the legs of the other riders. He got away, a couple more got across to him. In fact, 3 riders chased across to him, then they dropped one, so it ended with 3 going to the line. But Josh Tarling just getting the decision in the final sprint, but he did instigate that move, and he was also very much involved in forcing this group clear as well. With Scott, it was Gibson who rode across the gap to make it 3 leading riders. Mainfield toiling away behind, but they've still got work to do here if they're going to bring these 3 back. Significant, of course, that Joey Walker, the national champion for the Criterium, was at the front of the chase group last time. And Joey Walker, of course, the proud Yorkshireman. His father, Chris, former winner of the milk race. Probably more years ago than Chris Walker cares to remember, but Joey Walker having a great start to his defence of that jersey in October by being up in the action. But he'd love to take the win, I'm sure. So everyone having a turn at the front. It will only begin to get a little more tactical if these 3 are still clear with a significant advantage when we come towards the end of the race. Because of course 3 different teams represented here in this leading group. Pale blue colours of Matt Gibson for Ribble Well Type. The dark blue colours of Robert Scott for Canyon DHB. Both riders with strong teams behind them. And well, Josh Tarling is riding on his own here for Flanders Colour Galoo. No other teammates. More back markers being overhauled by our 3 leaders, obligingly swinging over to the side to allow the leaders to go through. I'm sure they'll Well, our three leaders are at the top of the climb once more. In fact, they're at the end of Birdcage Walk, aren't they? Yes, they are. They're on the descent. That's where they are. And it looks as though Tarling is coming to the front here. Gibson just momentarily, I thought, was drifting a little backwards, but he's now got back onto the wheel of Scott. Is that perhaps a sign of Gibson having a little bit of fatigue there? Of course, he had that big chase to get across that group. Tarling, though, is beginning to apply the pressure. The riders behind are those lapped riders, so we've still got no sight of the main field. Those leaders around the corner. Once again, we're looking with interest at the time gap here, which I think has grown. 9 laps to go. I think was on the lap board there, just being pointed fortuitously towards our camera on that occasion. Leaders have completed 11 laps. Scott from Gibson from Tarling. Jack Crook led across the next group. Harry Tanfield, in fact, is at the front of the next group on the road, I think. Just looking at our timing screen here as our camera focuses on our leading 3. So it's Robert Scott on that blue Canyon bicycle. Matt Gibson, long locks flowing out the back of his helmet there. And Tarling just getting out of the saddle every now and again. Is that a sign perhaps of a little bit of fatigue? Or is he just trying to sell a dummy to the others? Remember, he is the youngest of these 3 by some considerable margin. The least experienced of these 3 also by some considerable margin. But he is absolutely at the top of his form off the back of that win on Sunday. And these 2 will have to be very watchful indeed of Joshua Tarling. It'll be something of an unknown quantity to them. Last time Tarling was racing in the United Kingdom prior to last weekend, it was when he was a Youth A category rider in 2019. So the shadows have gone now. The sun has deserted us, and won't be too long, I don't think, before it starts to get a little bit darker here in the finishing straight. Clock just ticking towards 20 minutes past 9 on this Wednesday evening. Gibson just dispensing with a little bit of excess weight from his bead on there as he went along Birdcage Walk. Further back, these riders some considerable distance behind. There are our leaders. Well, we've seen no sign amongst them, really, apart from that little moment for Gibson on the descent last time, which probably reading more into than was there, actually, for Matt Gibson, because he's not missed a turn on the front as they've been working well together, these 3. Once again, they're on the descent. Gibson's second wheel this time. It's Robert Scott on the front. Tarling sits at the back. It'll be 8 laps to go on the line this time. Still this advantage is looking very, very significant indeed, and unless the main field can increase the momentum considerably, or if these 3 find themselves succumbing to fatigue, you could be looking at the 3 riders who are going to be going towards the victory here. Robert Scott, Matt Gibson, Joshua Tarling. Once again, we look at the length of Bondgate here as the next group come round. Well, that gap has closed just slightly, I feel, from last time. One long line of riders here in the main field. They really need to apply the pressure now. Those teams with weight of numbers will need to do lots of work, try and get their favoured rider towards the front. The exception, of course, being Canyon DHB, who have got Robert Scott in the lead. And also, of course, Ribble Weltite, who've got Matt Gibson. And I think if you were to question the team manager of both those squads at the moment and ask them who they would like to be in the breakaway group, well, I'm pretty sure Matt Gibson will be there for Ribble Weltite, and Robert Scott as well. Matt Botstock, of course, would start the favourite for Canyon DHB. That's the rider who dominated the action in the most recent editions of the British Road Circuit Series back in 2019, when he ran, I think, all but 2 rounds. Took the series overall and rode that great 3rd place finish in the National Championships behind Joey Walker in Rochester. So it really is darkening now. in Birdcage Walk. Street light becoming ever more obvious as the riders go through. Out into the light from under the shade of the trees. Well, if that gap had shortened a little last time, just looking at it was something in the order of short of 25 seconds the advantage for these three when they went through the line last time. So it's by no means in the bag yet for these three. This has been the breakaway of the race, but the danger for them is if the main field continue to drive as we saw when they went through the line last time, that advantage of 25 seconds could be very, very quickly eaten away. Well, as the evening draws on here in Otley, the temperature's dipped considerably. So these riders will be beginning to think now about the tactics. You can see the sun just in its dying moments before it sets. Last day of June. As we head into another month tomorrow. And here will come our leaders, swinging round by the pub on the corner by Chevin Cycles. This is going to be 7 laps to go this time. So it was about 25 seconds a gap last time. I think it is shortening lap by lap here. Here comes the chase. And Joey Walker has come to the front, the national champion's jersey, the front of these three chasers, and our leaders have realised the danger for the first time. Some more urgency being put into this lead group. Well, they've been away for a long time, but as I mentioned a few moments ago, the danger here is that once the pace lifts in the main field, they could find themselves losing that advantage very, very quickly and being swept up. So Tarling comes to the front. Scott looks over his shoulder. He is conscious of the danger. Joey Walker looms large, leading that group of 3 escapees from the front of the main field when they went through the line last time. So it'll be 6 laps to go when they reach the finish line this time. Joey Walker from Crimson Orientation Marketing, James Jenkins and Isaac Peatfield with the 3 chasers, then Alex Peatfield from Swift Carbon. Well, Joey Walker, member of the now defunct Madison Genesis team when he took his national title. Another rider who's won a Tour Series round in Durham in 2019. What was a great season of criterium racing for Joey Walker. And he is certainly animating the action in pursuit of our 3 leaders. Matt Gibson is still the holder of the fastest lap in that chase earlier on in the race when he came across to join Tarling and Scott. You could very well see a very much faster lap when we come towards the end.
We'll get men's first and second again if we can. That's got ladies first and second, and then one other, I can't remember. Oh, Matt Bostock on start.
So we're riding with our 3 leaders. Not far away from entering the finishing straight once more. Lap board being held out as Scott on the front. Now this time you should see that chasing group. If the gap has been maintained, well, I think it might have gone out again, you know. Here they come. Walker has dropped back into about 5th or 6th wheel in that chasing group. You see that national champion jersey bobbing around amongst those riders there. But that increase in pace that was instigated by Walker last time looks like it may have lost a little bit of ground again. So these 3 We're breathing perhaps a little bit easier. Well, when you get to this stage of the race, there's no easy breathing, but they're still hanging on to their advantage. Gibson just looking across at Scott. Tarling takes up the lead as they go onto the climb once more. Just glancing up at our scoreboard to see if I can see indication of the gap. It's 17 seconds for Scott, Gibson and Tarling ahead of the group that time was headed by Harry Tanfield. So at the beginning of the year, it looks as though Harry Tanfield would be taking on board a ride with the Ribble Weldtite team, but as it turned out, he was offered a pro contract at a very, very late stage in proceedings. But Harry riding here this evening, he's riding for Team Quebeca Assos. Winner of a stage, the opening stage in fact, of the Tour de Yorkshire in 2018, Harry Tanfield. So we've seen a couple of riders who would be definitely picks for a win this evening. Joey Walker and Harry Tanfield leading the chase, but our three leading riders on your screen here are still clear, and the gap was 16 seconds ahead of the chasers. I think, if I'm not mistaken, it's going to be 5 laps to go on the line next time. Well, what an incredible ride this has been from Joshua Tarling, the junior rider, fresh from victory on the roads of Rutland and Melton at the weekend, winning the Junior Cycle Classic. And, well, even he perhaps couldn't even have dreamed of being at the front of the Property Development Otley Grand Prix men's race in the company of Matt Gibson and Robert Scott. With all credit to him, he's contributed equally to this success so far of this breakaway move, along with Gibson and Scott. In fact, he was the rider who instigated it. Scott quickly saw the danger and latched onto Tarling. Gibson had to ride across the gap. Once again, Gibson just swings off and drifts over to the left-hand side of the road, slots onto the back wheel of Scott. Tarling takes up the lead as they come down Gay Lane once more. They're heading for the left-hand turn onto Bongate, and it should be 5 laps to go in the Property Development Otley Grand Prix for the men this time round. Tarling looks across. Well, the other danger for these three is if they start to look at each other, the gap that they have maintained could fall very, very quickly. They've still got more than the length of the finishing straight. Here's the main field as they round the corner. The 3 leaders are beginning the climb once again of Burrows Lane. Let's see who's in the front of the chase this time. Freddie Sheshki and Cam Jeffers for Ribble Weldtite are the riders driving this one. Well, Freddie Sheshki, a real powerhouse, the German rider on the team here for the chase of our leaders. Trying to get an eye on the timing to see if the gap has grown or been maintained by the leaders. Just wait till it comes round again. But Tarling comes to the front, followed by Gibson and Scott. It was Sheshki, best of the rest, as they came around the corner that time for Ribble Weldtite. Ribble Weldtite with that pale blue and black jersey. Sported also, of course, by Matt Gibson. Well, Sheshki will be conscious, of course, that Gibson in that leading group. And if it were to come back together, Sheshki could be a man for the position. So the gap was about the same, about 17, 18 seconds that time. So despite several different personalities on the front of the chasing group, the good work being put in still by these 3, not these, but the 3 you've just seen a few moments ago, is maintaining that advantage. In fact, it may have broadened it by a second or so. This may come down to a real nail-biting climax here at the Property Development Otley Grand Prix. Joshua Tarling just beginning to wipe his palms. Probably the biggest race of his junior career here. If he could take a podium position in the one of the iconic criterium races on the British calendar while still a junior, particularly amongst the company he's with this evening, it would be a remarkable achievement. Matt Gibson just dancing on the pedals there. Tarling's wheel. Scott it is on the front in the darker blue colours. Once again, they have completed the run along Birdcage Walk. Before laps to go this time. So just about 9 kilometres of racing left in this Property Development Otley Grand Prix. Robert Scott, Joshua Tarling, Matt Gibson, 3 leading riders. They're all looking behind them now. They know the laps are ticking down. They know the finish line is beckoning. And they know, as the very bright lights now of our lead motorbike comes along the finishing straight, that they're trying desperately to still hold off that chasing group behind. Remember, 128 riders took the start here this evening. Here are the chasers. That gap has definitely come down this time. Well, these 3 leaders will absolutely have to dig into their reserves with everything they've got now, because the chase is on behind. Lots of riders noted as retired, having lost laps to these leading 3. But of those left, they're now beginning to try and claw the way back up to these 3 leaders. And if they do catch them with a couple of laps to go, it could well be a very, very fast finish indeed. 13 seconds was the gap that time for the 3 leaders ahead of the chasers. So we're back on board with our 3 leading riders. Tarling in the pink colours at the back of the group. They are approaching the top of the climb once more. It's very familiar to them now. That little short section over the main road on the bridge before they swing into the shadows of Birdcage Walk. When they get to the end of this lap, it'll be 3 laps remaining. The gap was 13 seconds on the line last time. Once again, Matt Gibson just dispensing a bit of liquid out of his bottle. Well, when you're preparing for the final sprint, you want to be as light as you can, but Gibson really needs to concentrate his effort at the moment, along with Scott and Tarling, of holding off the chase from behind. That 13-second deficit for the main field. Completed 16 laps of racing for the leaders. Just on 50 minutes of action so far, and the outcome still very much in doubt. Will it be one of these 3 riders who take out the victory here this evening, or will the main field catch them in the dying moments of this race? Tarling gets out of the saddle, desperate to keep the pace going. This junior rider here knows that he's got a very real prospect of a podium. Tarling, Gibson and Scott. Damien Clayton led the chase for Canyon DHB. In fact, you had Reese Wood there as well. Canyon, of course, have got Robert Scott there, but if the gap does close, they've got forces ranged at the front of that chasing group. Once again, they come towards the bottom of the descent and the left-hander onto Bondgate. This will be the 3-lap to go point. It was 13 seconds last time. Let's see what's happened this time. Gibson riding wide here, looking across. They're significantly not looking behind at the moment. Well, I think that's still pretty much the same kind of gap we saw last time. Here's the main field. 3 laps to go. And let's see. Yep, it's still 13 seconds. So the main field made no impression at all on the chase that time. And they're rapidly running out of time, but so too are 3 leaders. With every lap that goes by and they maintain that advantage, the prospect of victory gets closer. Is this the first sign of Scott struggling to stay with the other 2? He's fighting to get back on the wheel of Gibson. Tarling powering up the climb. So Josh Tarling, Matt Gibson, Robert Scott, they've been away for the vast majority of this race. But they're in real danger of being consumed in the closing 2 laps. Using every last ounce of effort that they can as they once again complete the 700-metre ascent of Burris Lane. They'll swing left onto Birdcage Walk. Gibson leads into that corner. Got the line absolutely perfect now. They've had 50 minutes of racing. Tarling slipping to the back of the group this time. well, they really do still need to try and work together at the moment. But also they'll be mindful of the fact that it's going to come down to the point that only one of them can win. And all three riders representing different teams here. So it could become tactical, and that could well play into the hands of the chasers behind. They've only got a 13-second advantage to play with here. So they need to be fully concentrated on maintaining that advantage as long as they possibly can. 17 laps of racing completed here in Otley. 13 seconds the advantage. Alex Peters for Swift Carbon was the rider who led the main field last time through. So there have been different riders on the front pretty much each time the main field have gone through, and different teams as well. Of course, Canyon DHB and Ribble well tight with the dilemma of having two riders in that leading group, so they don't want to chase too hard, but they'd love to make it into fourth place if those stay away. Canyon DHB are masters of team racing. They were the winners overall of the Tour Series in 2019, which of course is a team-based event, so they know how to throw riders forward in the closing stages of a race to challenge for the best positions they can get. Robert Scott from Canyon DHB. They'll have 2 laps to go this time. Just 4.5 kilometres of racing remains here in Otley. Robert Scott is on the front. On his wheel is Josh Tarling. And then it is Matt Gibson. Those three riders, once again, tackle the left-hander into the climb. Let's look down the finishing straight. Let's see where the chasers are. The leaders are onto the climb. Still no sign of the chasers. It was 13 seconds last time. I think that's grown by another couple of seconds, you know. We're waiting for the official confirmation when the chasing group comes through the line. They're not there yet. And there's some dissension here. There's some waving going on at the front. Come on, they're saying. We need to work. Those three are taking this race away. Oh, well, you cannot afford a moment's hesitation. These three are powering up the climb once more. Once again, Tarling has taken the lead position. The junior rider showing no signs whatsoever of tiring here. Gibson sitting on his wheel. Scott once again in third spot. And the gap that time was 20 seconds. So they've added 7 seconds to their advantage. And that's all because of the dissension in the chasing group. It's a disorganised chase with teams looking at each other and saying, well, it's your turn to try and get this one back. Meanwhile, these three leading riders are hanging on and increasing their advantage. Well, you've got to say, as this race progresses, they are the most deserved riders of the victory. They have done absolutely everything to maintain this advantage. It would be a cruel fate if they were to succumb in this closing lap and a half. But of course, 3 riders versus a seething mass of 100 is a tall order. But the gap, if it increases again this time, I'm going to chance my arm and suggest these 3 will stay away. And if it comes down to the sprint, well, I think Matt Gibson might just be the man for the win. Former champion for the Criterium, Matt Gibson. But Joshua Tarling, the real surprise package here. Not a surprise that he's in good form with that Cycle Classic victory, but a surprise that a junior rider has been in such a dominant position for the whole duration of this 35th edition of the Otley Grand Prix. So birdcage walk once again. Tarling is doing certainly a great deal of work on the front to maintain this. Gibson still in second wheel. Scott has drifted to the back again. Is he trying to preserve some energy for the sprint if it comes down to it, Robert Scott? Oh, well, we're into the descent. Well, and it's going to be Bell this time with 1 lap to go. Absolutely nail-biting stuff here at the conclusion of the Property Development Otley Grand Prix. Matt Gibson comes to the front. Scott in second wheel. Joshua Tarling sits in third. Those 3 riders, they look behind them. Scott glancing over his shoulder. The gap last time through was 20 seconds. Gibson will be first into the corner. Perhaps he's practicing for the sprint next time if they stay clear. On the perfect line, round the corner they go into the finishing straight. Crowd go wild as the 3 leading riders, they'll be willing to try and stay clear for the remaining 2.25 kilometres. They are round the corner. They're onto the climb. Where are the main field? They're nowhere in sight. Here they come now round the corner. That gap is certainly 15 seconds or so behind our 3 leaders. Whoa, who's driving the pace here as they come around the corner? Well, it's the blue colours of Canyon DHB. They would like to take 4th and 5th place if they can. And if Scott should lose contact, they are poised to try and move across and perhaps challenge for the victory. But if these three keep up this pace, it's going to be such a nail-biting finale. Joshua Tarling, the young rider in pink, just looks across at Matt Gibson. Gibson looks back as well. Again, Scott occupying third spot here. And, little flick of the elbow there. That's a cyclist's sign to say, OK, I've done my bit, your turn to come through. Will they, though? That is the question. As I've already said, the only danger sign here for these three is if they start to look at each other. It's only a 15-second advantage, and that could quickly be consumed by the chasing group behind. So to the top of the climb we go. For the final time, they will cross the main road bridge and swing onto Birdcage Walk. Joshua Tarling ahead of Robert Scott, ahead of Matt Gibson. Those are the three riders who have dominated this evening's racing here in Otley. But which of them will take the victory? That's an unusual camera angle, you have to agree. But hopefully we can focus in on our riders who are in the other direction. That's it. That's the picture we want to see now. We need to see the gap between our leaders and our chasers. Here they are. They're into the final part of Birdcage Walk. But look at this. The chase is in sight. We see an attack from these three. There are the bunch coming over the top of the rise. This is going to be ever so close, you know. Tarling is on the front, powering along. Will we see a catch just short of the line? Tarling glancing over his shoulder. These three are nervous now. They know that main field are absolutely powering down Birdcage Walk. Full width of the road. The last little undulations before they swing onto the descent. Remember, the folklore of Otley is if you're the first rider into that last left-hander, you've got a very, very good chance of winning. Tarling is on the front. Gibson and Scott just behind. We're approaching the end of Birdcage Walk. That gap is just a handful of seconds. Tarling is first around the corner. It's now all descent to the bottom corner. The chasers are here too. Will they consume these three just before the line? It's getting very, very close indeed. They're at the junction of Gay Lane and Leeds Road. Still Tarling on the front. The junior rider leading this one out. Gibson, though, is poised. Gibson trying to get the line into that corner. Here they come, lining up for Bondgate. Round the corner they come in. It's Gibson. They're going to hang on, Matt Gibson on the front, powering towards the line. Matt Gibson will take it. Robert Scott second. Joshua Tarling, a great third place for Josh Tarling. And it looked like Sam Watson possibly for fourth place. Well, I told you to put your money on Matt Gibson, and if you did, you were absolutely right, because Matt Gibson, it was ever so close on the line, but Matt Gibson taken victory here in the Otley Grand Prix, Property Development Otley Grand Prix, first round of the HSBC UK British Cycling Circuit Series. There's a replay. Gibson arms aloft, absolutely joyous celebrations, and those three did stay clear. They maintained that advantage. Scott for second. Tarling drops his head, but he's got nothing to be ashamed about. That's been a great ride from Joshua Tarling. And fourth spot was Sam Watson ahead of Harry Tanfield and Ben Turner. So Gibson, Scott, Tarling, the order across the line. Matt Gibson wins the Otley Grand Prix. Wow, what a great race that was, and particularly that final lap. Had that race been 10 or 15 metres longer, I think they would have been caught. The main field left it very late. They left it too late, as it turned out. And Scott, Tarling and Gibson prevailed. Josh Tarling receiving lots of congratulations, as well he might, from other riders around him. It's a great ride for a junior. And exchanging words with Matt Gibson as they get their breath back. A great race that was. So Gibson, Scott, Tarling, Sam Watson, best the rest leading the main field in. Well, we'll be bringing you our presentations very shortly. Well, I think Joshua Tarling can barely believe it. Winner of the Cycle Classic on Sunday in a sprint for the line. Just out sprinted this evening by Matt Gibson. And once again, the the Otley rule prevailed because Matt Gibson was the first rider into that last left-hander. 190 metres then took him to the finish line. There's the replay. Gibson, your winner. Scott in second and Tarling in third. Whichever way you look at it, it was a perfectly executed sprint from Matt Gibson. He knew he had to be first into that last corner, and that's exactly where he was. So Matt Gibson chalks up a great win for the team of Ribble Weltite. As I mentioned earlier in commentary, we first came across Matt Gibson when he was riding for the Great Britain team in Peterborough in 2014 it was. And he took victory on that occasion. A rider who was barely out of the junior rankings himself on that occasion. In fact, he may still have been a junior if I'm not terribly mistaken. But Matt Gibson showed us his form back then. And he's turned into one of our foremost criterium riders in the UK. Former national champion from Newcastle in 2018. So we will shortly bring you the podium presentations. As you can see, the lights fading rapidly here in Otley, so that race completed just in time. What a great race it was. And I'm so pleased we've been able to bring you coverage via our live stream. Thank you once again to everyone who contributed via our Just Giving page. And that made it possible for us to bring you these pictures. We certainly hope you've enjoyed the action. You've had two great races, along with some top youth racing earlier in the evening as well. But Luna King taking victory in the women's race, and Matt Gibson taking victory for the men. And both those riders, I'm sure, will be looking forward to round 2 of the HSBC UK Circuit Series. There are only 2 rounds of the series altogether this year due to the somewhat foreshortened season. And they've only got 6 miles to go up the road because round 2 of the Circuit Race Series takes place on the Friday the 23rd of July on the streets of Ilkley, which is literally just about 6 miles away from Otley. So it's going to be an all Yorkshire affair for the Criterium Series this year. So whilst we're waiting for the podium, I think we can bring you an interview with the winner of the women's race, Luna King. So let me try and cue that up for you.
Congratulations, you won Otley Crit. How does it feel?
Yeah, I'm really happy to win it, to be honest. I know it's a race with a lot of history, so I'm really chuffed, to be honest.
Fantastic, you've got your name on that legacy list now, and how does the rest of the season look for you now after kicking this win off?
We're just going to stay in Britain for most of the summer and race like Ilkley and then hopefully the Tour Series, which I'm really looking forward to. I've never done that before. And then hopefully we'll be going for some track racing in August, and then after that I don't really know yet.
Fantastic. And how does it feel to get your very first elite victory in the UK?
I'm really happy. I had like quite a few good performances as first year junior, but I could never really break into that top 5. But yeah, I'm really chuffed, to be honest.
Amazing. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Well, there you heard from Luna King, the winner of the Otley Grand Prix women's race. And as you heard, they're staying in the UK for the majority of the racing this year. We're looking forward to riding the next round in Ilkley in a few weeks' time on the 23rd of July. Meanwhile, we're rounding the riders up, ready for the presentation on the podium here in Bondgate. And what a great night's racing the crowd here have been treated to. Somewhat reduced numbers, obviously due to the current COVID restrictions from our normal Otley crowds, but hopefully we have made up for that by bringing you our live stream. So worth remembering, of course, that sponsorship of this live stream has come from Dream Bike Giveaway. And if you'd like to win something from Dream Bike Giveaway, maybe a Wahoo Kicker Smart Trainer worth £999, 100 tickets at £15 each. It's the ultimate indoor experience, ready to ship for you when we draw the raffle. So that's great if you enjoy your static indoor cycling. If you prefer a nice pair of Oakleys, some Oakley Jawbreaker glasses, worth £185. £185 for a pair of sunglasses, yes indeed. 100 tickets at £3 each, available for that one. The sun's shining, or it was earlier this evening, so it's high time you got yourself a nice new set of shades. And those Oakley Jawbreakers available in the Dream Bike Giveaway Amazing Bike Raffle. And the last but definitely not least in our current Dream Bike giveaways is the Willia Zero SL Disc ETAP bike. Recommended retail price is £6,270. We had 400 tickets initially. A lot of them have sold already. £20 each for those. You could win your choice of colour and size of that bicycle, be it medium or large, be it grey and blue or red and black. And that raffle will be taking place in the not-too-distant future. Keep your eye on the Velo29 Facebook page for news of when the amazing bike raffle will take place for all of those wonderful items I have just advertised for you. And don't forget, if you enjoy a bit of Zwift racing, we have got the Dream Bike Race Series every Wednesday, except this one, because we've been a bit busy. So join us next Wednesday at 5:30 on the roads of Watopia for some Dream Bike racing as well. Let's go back live to see if we're any nearer to our presentation podium. Not quite yet. So just gathering the riders together, ready to go onto the podium to receive their awards. Race announcer just readying the crowd for the riders to come up to receive the prizes. I think it'll be the women's podium before the men's podium.
Jim, can you see where the three riders are massive to the left? Can you, without completely knacking your camera, can you pan left and see them?
So the riders just gathering at the foot of the steps. Lunid King, that third place in the Cycle Classic at the weekend. And now that win here this evening. But first rider to come onto the podium is Jenny Hall of Teggers CC, taking third place overall. April Tacey, great second place for the rider from Drops Le Col. But the winner, and another victory for Team Breeze. It's a Lunid King who will come onto the podium as the winner of the Spatsworth Otley Women's Grand Prix. There she is. They will take on the flowers. Riders, of course, obliged to wear a face mask on the podium. Magnificent trophy as well for the race winner, Lunid King, who you heard from just a few moments ago in our interview sequence. April Tacey and Jenny Hall. There are three riders who have taken the victories here this evening in the race here. So are they going to uncork the bubbly and give the crowd a liberal spraying of same? I imagine they probably will. Yes, here we go. So Lunid King just reading the instructions. Remove cork, shake vigorously, point at photographers, go. And in the champagne uncorking competition, it looks as though it might be Jenny Hall who's going to get there first. April Tacey is doing well. Lunid's still struggling with the cork. Now we're going to get the massive champagne celebration for the Spatsworth Otley Women's Grand Prix. It will come off eventually. There you go, Jenny Hall's won. And Lunid's getting liberally covered in the bubbly. So the riders enjoying the celebrations. Great race. A win for Lunid King of Team Breeze. Second place for April Tacey from the team of Drops Le Col. And third place for Jenny Hall of Trekkers CC. So that is the women's podium. So we will have the men's podium momentarily. And I think we should have an interview with Matt Gibson, hopefully. So we just need to tidy the podium up a little bit, mop up the champagne before we bring our men forward to receive their awards. So while we do that, let's quickly hear from Matt Gibson.
Just on the finish line, how's it feel? You finally got that Otley win.
Yeah, it was good. It was obviously a tough place to be in the break, but I saw Scott and Canyon going up the road and knew that if we let them go, then they were just going to try as hard as they could to mess up our chase behind. So I just thought we couldn't let them get up the road without being in there ourselves. So
Amazing. And how was it to be in that breakaway? Was that the plan from the start?
no, it wasn't the plan at all. That was just sort of making it up as I went along. But obviously pretty happy that I went with it, followed it in the end. It's obviously risky around here because the breakaway doesn't often stay away, but sort of knew that combination of guys was a good group to go with, and there was a good chance that was going to stay to the finish.
Brilliant. And legs must be feeling amazing right now. Looking forward to ahead of the season. What's next for you?
Yeah, next is we're off to Belgium this weekend to race in a UCI race, which should be good. So obviously taking some good legs into that is going to boost confidence a bit. But yeah, pretty happy with this evening really.
Amazing. Enjoy the win and congratulations.
Thank you.
So well done to Matt Gibson. And as you hear, heading off for a bit of racing overseas this weekend. So we're just waiting for the men to come up onto the podium to receive the awards. Joshua Tarling, Robert Scott and Matt Gibson. I'm sure we'll get there momentarily. And well, as you heard from that interview from Matt Gibson, it actually wasn't the plan to go on the attack. It kind of happened by accident, but he certainly capitalised on it. And as I was emphasising throughout the commentary, that he was, in my opinion, the strongest sprinter of the three, and so it proved to be.
Right, super. And I'll get your details off Bruce to send them over to you then. Super. Thanks so much, Richard. Cheers. Take care.
So the podium has been vacated in order for the riders to take centre stage. And Joshua Tarling, it bears repeating, junior rider, fresh from a victory on the roads of Rutland and Melton at the weekend where he won the sprint. And he's taken a great third place finish here this evening in Otley. Robert Scott just showing that Canyon DHB have returned to criterium racing with the kind of form we saw at the end of 2019 when they came up the overall winners of the Tour Series. And of course when Matt Bostock was well placed in the National Criterium Championships as well. So I think we're about to see Joshua Tarling coming onto the stage. Yes, we are. There he is. So Josh Tarling, second time on a podium in as many days for the Flanders Colour Galoo team. Remember, he had no team support, so he did it all off his own bat, which is even more impressive. Second place went to Robert Scott of Canyon DHB. It was Tarling who instigated the move. Scott was quick to respond, but the man who ultimately came out the winner of the race was the man who had to chase across to join them. And he will take the prize as the winner of the Property Development Otley Grand Prix for 2021, the 36th year of the Otley Cycle Races, the 35th running of the Otley Grand Prix Cycle Race. And your winner for the team of Ribble Welltight is Matt Gibson. Here he is. Former national champion for the criterium, and once again showing incredible turn of pace when it mattered Those three worked very well together to maintain that advantage. It looked with about 4 laps to go as though they might succumb, and it certainly looked with about 250 metres to go as they might succumb, but they held on, and a well-deserved podium. Matt Gibson, your winner for Ribble Well Tight. Robert Scott second for Canyon DHB, and Joshua Tarling, junior rider, in third place for the team of Flanders Colour Galou. So they too will get into the champagne uncorking. Now Matt Gibson should be pretty good at this. He's done this quite a bit before. Joshua Tarling, well, he had some alcohol-free champagne at the Cycle Classic at the weekend because, of course, as a junior rider. Interesting to know what's in the bottle there. But at the moment, it's pretty much victory, I think, again for Matt Gibson. He's got the top of his bottle before everybody else. They're giving it a good shake. There we go. The champagne spray on the podium for the Property Development Men's Otley Grand Prix. Matt Gibson, your race winner. Robert Scott in second, and Joshua Tarling in third place. What a great race that was. There can be no argument about that. And you heard from Matt a few moments ago. Thank you to Beth and the team for down there catching our interviews. Matt has dispensed with the face mask for the photographs, so you can recognise him other than from the nose upwards. Holding up the trophy and the flowers. Joshua Tarling alongside him, third place finisher, and Robert Scott in second. So that pretty much wraps up our evening here in Otley. On behalf of Dream Bike Giveaway, who have brought you our live stream, this is Carl Lawrence, and thanking you for your company, and hope you've enjoyed all of the racing we've brought you. Well done to all the organising team here in Otley as well, and to the riders for such an entertaining night's racing. So we look forward already to the return to Otley in 2022, and hopefully the crowds will be back in force, and hopefully we might have a live stream for you again if it's proven to be a successful exercise. We certainly hope it will be. Remember, the next round of racing is in Ilkley on the 23rd of July for the British Cycling Series. But as the night draws in over Otley, I think we have reached the point in the proceedings when it's come time to bid you goodbye. So on behalf of the whole team from Dream Bike Giveaway, from Velo 29 Events, and from everyone involved here at the Otley Cycle Races for 2021, until the next time.